right, Ryan. We're just
getting ready to go live, Ryan.
Okay.
Welcome to Beer Money Polling Team. Sit down, shut up, and hang on. Welcome, everybody. Monday, January 9th, and I'm going to be the first one to admit I am starstruck tonight. And the fact that we have Alan Washburn on our show has me beyond excited. So Brett Yarn up there in the top right corner, Charles Posh up in the top left, Cody Vanderholm bottom left, Ryan Roosink right below me, and Alan Washburn. Alan, pretend we're at Toma and just give us your opening thing at Toma's, because I want to feel the goosebumps again.
You want me to do this, and I did this the other day on the telephone, but I'll do it for you just to keep you happy here.
Thank you. Please do.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Toma. The Super Pull in Dairyland doesn't get any better than it does tonight.
Oh, Alan, I love you so much. Thank you so much for doing that.
You have this scroll across the bottom of the screen there, Jason, that says legendary. And I always thought that legendary people were dead.
Charles, how do
I disagree, but I'll tell you, when I interviewed Ken Venny a few years ago what he said, because I said the same thing. You're a legend in the sport. And his only answer to me wasn't a word. He just said,
That sounds like Ken Venning. Yeah, exactly. I can hear him saying that. But I've always felt that people that are legend. Ken Mack was legendary. Some of the people that I've had the opportunity to work with and hopefully learned from as we've gone along, those are the legends that make this sport what it is. They're the ones that remember everything. They're the ones that understand what's going on the track. And to make sure that we all are on the same page here, we all have to be, and Charles, you understand this, we have to be ready for anything that happens on the track at any given time.
Mm-hmm. No, so true. So, okay, I don't think you're dead or old or anything like that, Alan. I can change the bottom. Just what word would you like me to say?
Well, let's put it this way. I do what I enjoy doing, and thank you for making me feel good. I appreciate that, but you don't have to change it.
Oh, no, I'm changing it. I got Alan Washburn on our show. Live with Alan Washburn. He does what he wants. The voice of the
okay, no, you can do it that way.
He does what makes him happy, right?
Well, all right. And I've been doing this a long time, Jason.
I know. That's where we're going to get into all that good stuff.
Uh-oh, that's kind of scary.
Okay, before we get deep into the questions, guys, we have Alan Washburn, obviously an announcer that we all have heard many times and fallen in love with. I got to meet him at the NTPA banquet, and I was up on the stage before anybody was in there kind of taking pictures for the Facebook page. He goes, "What are you doing up here?" And then we started talking, and he started talking. I didn't know you were Alan until you started talking, no offense. And I was like, "Holy cow, you're Alan Washburn." And then, because Charles talks about you all the time, and I hear your voice at Toma. I live an hour from Toma, Alan. So, and I never am ever early for anything. So like if the first class starts at 7, I come rolling in about 7:05. And just to hear your voice as you're welcoming the fans in those first classes and talking about the sponsors, it's just, it makes me so happy that you're here.
Well, thank you, Jason. I appreciate that.
So what we do throughout the show, Alan, a lot is we're gonna throw some comments up on the screen. We'll ask you questions and stuff like that. Colin Burkholtz, you know the Burkholtz is the light pro stock.
Yes,
does very well in Toma. He says, Alan and Kenny Mack were the voices of my childhood growing up. Alan, when you hear things like that, how does that make you feel?
I have to say I was proud to be one of Kenny Mack's students, and I was a student of Kenny Mack for a number of years. When I started at Toma, and it's been almost 30 years ago now, or maybe more, there were 3 or 4 years that Kenny Mack and I couldn't tell whether he liked what I was doing or didn't. It was just kind of a very cool reception I got from the man. And one afternoon, as we wrapped up an afternoon session, I started down the steps from the tower. Kenny was standing at the bottom of the steps. And he stood there, and I thought, uh-oh, I'm about to be dressed down by one of the best. And he looked at me, and he stuck his hand out, and he said, "Thank you. This has been fun." And at that point in time, I'd paid my dues with Kenny Mack. And he and I had a ball ever since after that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's a great man, a great man.
Well, that's a nice segue, Alan, into, I guess, tell us about your family a little bit, and then I want to get into how it all started. So I know you're in Sarasota, Florida right now.
Right. I'm enjoying a little warmth. It's 64, 65 degrees down here, clear sky, beautiful moon in the sky tonight. And we've been here since early December.
Okay.
My wife has a unit down here in one of the mobile home parks down here that has been so far and hopefully continues to be spared all the hurricanes and the winds and everything that comes through. So we'll be here through the end of March, probably maybe early April. I'll be headed back to Northwest Indiana.
Okay, great. I guess, Charles, I want to know how we got started. Ask it, Charles, in your announcer voice. How did Alan get started? You take over, Charles. From announcer to announcer.
What was the spark that got you to get in front of people and actually use that golden voice of yours?
I have to go way back, and I go clear back into high school for this. And actually, I did not start behind a microphone for tractor pulling. A man stopped me on the downtown street of my hometown of Kentland and said, "I need an announcer for tonight." And I said, "Doing what?" He said, "We've got a demolition derby to do tonight." And I said, "Yeah, okay. I don't know anything about a derby." He said, "You're a talker. That's what I need." Okay. So I went out, did the demolition derby, and I got ready to start that night. And I was still apprehensive about what I was doing. I'd never been there before. I said, "What am I talking about?" He said, "You talk about what's happening in front of you." Okay. I'm a kid, sophomore in high school. That soaks in. I can understand that. And then I thought about that, and I thought, but what if there's nothing going on? Charles, you'll understand this reference. When he looked at me and said, "Talk about it." And that's the best advice I've ever gotten from anyone, was talk about what's going on in front of you, even if there's nothing going on. There's always somebody to talk about, whether it's the Queen pageant, people that are there. You have officials on the track. You have the fair board. You have the rest of the schedule for the fair week. All those things play into the back of your mind of what you need to do. When somebody says you need to be talking, you don't need to be sitting there. You need to be talking. Mm-hmm. You've been there. You understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, that I agree with that, and I think just another mistake I see too many people make. They do this. Get that paper out of your face, and yeah, you're exactly right. Look out there.
You've got the 50-50 girls are on the far side of the track over there, and you can have a little fun with them, get their attention, and keep everybody informed about what's going on. That's what's important.
Yep, 100%.
So you were a sophomore in high school, and you did a demo derby. How did this evolve into truck and tractor pulling?
Well, I used to sit in the top row of the grandstand at the county fair and kept thinking to myself, someday I could do that. I probably could do that. And I listened to the man and I thought, yeah, I understand what he's doing. I understand all the phrasing he's using. I can do that. Well, I had the opportunity. It would have been late in 89 or 90. I was at the Indiana State Fair and met the new motorsport director. And I was having a conversation with him. I said, "If you need anything, give me a call." And he said, "All right, I'll keep that in the back of my mind." I figured that was all over and I wouldn't have to hear from him again. And about 2:30 that afternoon, he called me and he said, "Were you serious?" And I said, "Yes, what's up?" He said, "My motorsport announcer had to head home. His father just passed away and he's got a show to do tonight." I said, "All right, I'll be there." So I went and did the show. And 2 days later, the door to my little office, which is about twice the size of a good sized broom closet, this man blustered in and closed the door. He said, "I want to talk to the guy that did my tractor pull the other night." And I said, "That'd be me. Why?" He said, "Anybody that can do that at the drop of a hat and do it well, I need to meet." He said, "The name's Larry Richwine. Good to meet you."
And I can hear that happening.
Yes, exactly. And he and I fast friends, friends to this day. So it's his fault that I gotten started in the truck and tractor pulling.
What pull was that in Indiana that you did?
That pull would have been one of the, and I want to say it was probably like a Wabash Valley tractor pull that they used. We used to pull a lot of vehicles on the fairgrounds. They had an area on the northeast corner of the fairgrounds that they used. They called it the sports strip. We had demo derbies. We had tractor pulls. We had garden tractor pulls. We had pedal tractor pulls over there. We had a lot of fun over there. They finally decided it was going to make more money as a kid park, so they took all the dirt and the bleachers out, and they made it a fun park for the kids.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Charles, I'm digging for some pictures if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it. Lisa Jostock says you're a legend and have a place in their hearts for sure. You got ordained in Ohio to marry those two lovebirds.
You are exactly right, Charles. Oh, you are on top of things. That was an interesting scenario for me. As I was coming home from convention one year over there, I got a call from Lisa, and she said, "We have a question for you." I had them on the track at Toma when he proposed to Lisa. And I was his voice for the crowd and watching their reaction, etc. Well, this went on for a year. And as they were coming home from convention, headed back to Michigan, Lisa called me and she said, "I have a very strange request." And she said, "Would you marry the two of us next winter?" And I said, whatever I need to do, absolutely. I'll be glad to do that. So I jumped through the hoops and became ordained in the state of Ohio and still carry that license in my pocket, and very proud of the fact that I put the two of them together, not only from the proposal standpoint, but as the marriage ceremony as well. We had a great time that night.
Good deal.
That's cool.
Here's an interesting question from Jeremy. Did you ever get the chance to work with Ed Johnson at all?
I knew Ed Johnson. I knew who he was, but no, I never had the opportunity to work with him. Another great voice.
Mm-hmm. When did he retire?
Oh, now you're going to tax me. Where's Kenny Mack when I need the numbers?
Yeah, well, you don't have to be exact. I was just curious.
I don't remember exactly when he did retire, but it hadn't been that long ago, but it's probably longer than we think.
Gotcha. What's a typical summer look like for you now? I mean, do you do this full time at this point, or?
The summer gets pretty full pretty quickly, and we're starting to stack those in. I'll have Toma. I have not heard from Toma yet. I have not heard from Chapel Hill, although this will be my second opportunity down there. I think that I didn't have the chance to work with Chris Gilbert, but I knew him very, very well, and he and I could swap stories for hours about what crowd did this and what crowd did that, and what type of reactions you can get. The man was you talk about a legend. Now there's a legend, and that would be Chris Gilbert. Made the Super Bowl of the South what it was and is. I do a very poor job of imitating him, and I won't even try tonight. But we have a great time down there. We really do.
Jeremy says mid-90s is when
okay
would have stopped. Yeah, that's probably about right. I don't
like I said, I knew who he was, but I didn't ever have the opportunity to meet him.
Yeah, I didn't either. I'm just a little bit too young. I read about him in the magazines and
Right.
what have you back in those days, but never, I wasn't old enough to travel on my own to go see a guy of his caliber at that time. So yeah, I missed out, but I definitely did know about him.
I had the opportunity, thinking about the mid '90s, which would have put me in my very, very early days of the Super Bowl that we did inside the Coliseum at the State Fairgrounds. I was there. I think it was either the first or second year I was there. They said, "Now you need to be very quiet when that man over there in the corner is talking. He's doing live television." And I'm going, "So who is he and why is he so important?" And they said, "Well, you don't know who that is?" I said, "No, I'm here with the crowd that's in the Coliseum here tonight. Who's he?" Oh, they said, "That's Army Armstrong. You need to let him do what he does." Well, it was about 3 hours later. It was maybe a lunch break or something we took, and I ran across him, and he said, "Are you the announcer that's over there?" And I said, "Yeah, that would be me." He said, "Don't worry about shutting up. Let me talk over you. You're fine. You've got a crowd." That was another one of the legends, and I had the opportunity to visit with him several times. Army was a great guy.
Yep, he's definitely. I miss his voice quite a bit.
Oh, so do I. He could sell you anything. I really think he could.
The classic job interview. Sell me this pen.
Exactly. That's exactly the way he would approach it.
Yep.
Mike Steffen says, always loved Alan's tribute to our veterans before a show.
100% agree with that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's something that I felt needed to be done because there were so many of our veterans that do not get the recognition and at least the nod in thank you of what they have done. I put that together. Some of it's stolen, some of it's put together from the back of my mind. It all seems to flow, and people seem to appreciate it. And I appreciate the opportunity to do it. A man in Shipshewana, Ohio, came up to me after I had done that, and we had started the show, and he shook my hand. He was a veteran. He had all the stripes, and don't ask me to tell you what rank he was. He had all the stripes, and he said, "Don't you ever quit saying that. It needs to be done often and every show." And I have tried to do it every single show that I open.
Yep. I've heard you doing it at the fort a few times, and you could hear a pin drop in the place while you're doing it. It's that good.
Yeah, I was gonna say too at Toma, when you do that with the motorcycle parade comes out, that's just goosebumps.
I start through all the script that I have, and there comes a time when I just lay the script down and go by what I'm seeing happening, what I'm beginning to feel at that particular point in time, which is why the tenor of it probably changes while you're there. But that's one of those things that you start to anticipate that this huge American flag or this huge presentation of the red, white, and blue needs to be recognized, and you do so and let the people know it.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely agree. Yeah, Mick is actually going back to something that you had talked about earlier, and whether we realize it or not, doing this kind of thing, you become a part of the memory that gets made. It's not about us and what we're doing at a show, but we're the narrative for it. We become a part of that fabric forever.
Exactly right. And it's that point in time where we can bring the show together. There may be a little lack of timing from a staging standpoint. It's our job to make it sound smooth and that there's no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something else that Adam Wilson had set up above. He said, "You are the best when something goes sideways at keeping everybody calm down and informed what's going on."
Absolutely.
Thank you for that, because I have been a firm believer that the wrong words spoken in the wrong tone of voice, in the wrong frame of mind, will get somebody hurt. Mm-hmm. And I do not want to be known to doing that. Colin's asking their biggest pulling moment you're announcing, it sticks in your memory, and it was Toma 2 or 3 years ago, and it was like 1:30 in the morning, and
I know where this is going.
Yeah, we stacked one up, and it was one of those issues. There weren't many people there, but it still didn't make any difference. We needed to let those people that were there know that the people that were on the track are the people that need to be there. There's no reason for everybody to dash out of the stands and go do it. We'll take care of this. And it was almost an hour, I think, before we got that one cleaned up. And it was a very short night that night, but I felt good about what I had done.
It was a cold night too.
Oh, yes, it was. Thank you for bringing that up.
No Florida weather, huh?
No. Well, thank you, William. That was a nice comment that you stuck in there. I saw that. And we're back to
Alan, I've never heard you take more command of a situation than when I saw somebody's video, and I can't remember whose it was. It was an Ohio hook, and it was like a green,
Evan
like an
Smoot.
8R.
Yeah, Evan Smoot's director. Yep.
Yeah, when he put that thing over, you spoke more forcefully than I've ever heard you speak, but it still maintained plenty of respect for the audience and what they were doing. But it also said, you stay in your seats because these people need to do their thing, and you need to let them.
Exactly right. And it's one of those things that I think time has taught all of us well, that there are people on the track that are doing what they're trained to do. Let them do it. There's no reason for the people to come out of the stands, and you've seen it at some of the other events around the country. It doesn't necessarily have to be our sport, but they get all bent out of shape. They don't need to. There are professionals that are there, and that's what they're there for. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep.
So I think William meant to say Ragged Old Flag. What does Alan think about Ragged Old Flag, told by Keith Bradley at Bowling Green? It's a classic tearjerker.
I have a copy of that. They've never asked me to do it, but I have that copy that's in the back of my book, along with several others that I have as well. If necessary, I can pull that out. But I think that there has to be an occasion for that. And when we're talking about the veterans, that's not necessarily the place it needs to be. If we were doing a memorial service, absolutely, something like that could come up. But I have a copy, yes.
Very good. What else we got here? Yeah, Evan Smoot Light Pro. That Bruce, you touched on that already, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Adam, it might have even been. I'll bet it was even your video, Adam.
It could have been. Yes. Now that I think about it, it may well have been.
If anything's gone sideways, Adam's caught it.
So yeah, it was at Fort Recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah, either him or Chuck Russell, one of the two.
Right. Exactly. And here again, we're back to the photographers being at the right place at the right time, and sometimes being almost in the danger zone.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, 100%
I think all of us have probably been there at least a time or two.
Well,
Exactly.
there's a tractor that's kind of on the screen that almost got all of us. So
Yeah.
But not all
Right
of us.
behind Charles.
I was well clear of it, but yeah, it definitely sent parts all over the place.
mm-hmm.
That's the scary part. That yes, we understand what's happening. I can tell you maybe what happened and what caused the explosion, but where are those pieces going? And we've taken such major strides in safety over the years to keep that as contained as we possibly can. But each one of us here tonight has seen spark plugs go over the grandstand.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
They look like beautiful little Roman candles going there, but it's scary.
If you're just joining us, we have Alan Washburn with us tonight, and just a not legendary voice, a voice of the NTPA. Because he says legendary people are no longer with us, and clearly Alan's still with us. Alan, I want to know what are you retired now, like from your real job?
Not exactly. I'm trying to slow down. I'm still farming actively, but I'm not farming near as much as I did 5-10 years ago.
So you are a farmer your whole life.
Yes, born and raised, absolutely.
And what particular town in Indiana? Like, what are some what towns and what pullers are close to you?
Well, Jason Bramer is about 8 miles away from me.
Okay. He's like a big bodyguard. Yep.
Yeah, 4-time champion there. He's over in Illinois. I'm on the other side of the line in Indiana, about 4 miles away from him. I'm right straight south from Chicago, right down US 41. The second county south, which is Newton County. I'm at the very bottom of that county.
Nice.
And if you get on US 41 and you keep right on coming from there, you'll come out just past the front gate out here at the park where I'm sitting right now. It'd take you a while to get here, but
yeah, I was gonna say.
I got to work tomorrow, Alan. I don't know.
Oh well. Plan for the weekend then, Jason.
Yeah, I will. Russ Dostal says the Toma Better Night gives him chills. I have the video on my phone. Amazing. Russ is from Nebraska, so he drove all the way to Toma.
It's amazing the distance that people will travel. We have the pullers, obviously the boys that come out of Wyoming and out of that area, but the people that will drive specifically to Toma for the thrill of being there at one of the largest hooks in the country.
And I will tell you why. It's because the Schreiers did an amazing job. I learned how hard Chris and Dave and them, back in the day when the NTPA was everywhere, they would go and they would hand out Toma stickers and calendars and hats and whatever they could. I mean, from Seattle from the East Coast to the West Coast, I had the I guess the honor, if you will, of spending some time with Chris and interviewing him for a podcast the week of Toma this year, Alan, and to really learn the history of it and because that's kind of our show is Let's Grow Pulling, and we try to share ideas on what makes an event great, but it's hard to replace 40 years or 45 years of tradition.
I would agree with you there on that, Jason. And one of the things that I have appreciated in Toma over the years is the warmth that we are received. I made the statement about 4 or 5 years after I'd been up there that it didn't seem like to me that you could do anything wrong in that town because they were that welcoming with everybody that was involved with truck and tractor pulling.
Yeah, that's great. Palmer says you're the best. And
he may be a little prejudiced there.
A little bit, but that's fine. I mean, we all got opinions, Alan. It's all good. Mike Maxwell says the night before that with the fire was the danger zone. That night before Smoot. Okay.
Yeah.
What does Alan think of the F-16 flyover at Bowling Green? Also, pretty neat tribute at National Anthem.
Let me be clear. First of all, I've never been to Bowling Green.
What?
I just never been to Bowling Green. Now, back to the F-16 flyover. I think it's a great idea. I really do. Did you know that technically that's illegal? You have to have specific training circuit to run and make that flyover.
Cody, you're our resident drone expert, and is F-16 kind of like a drone? Or?
Yeah, Cody's the only one of the 5 of us who's registered with the FAA.
Oh, good. That's nice to know.
Certified pilot.
But no, I think it's a tremendous tribute. But I've talked to some of the pilots over the course of the years, and really it has to be into a training exercise wording in their orders when they fly.
Yeah,
That explains a few things then why we get away with it so much around here. I'm in the flight path of Selfridge Air National Guard Base. We see them all the time, and they do flyovers for everything here.
Right. They just happen to be up and running around, and gosh, we were about 2 miles off. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Okay, Alan, living legend. How's that? Does that sound better?
Okay, I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one.
Okay. So
Good work,
Schulte,
Wyatt.
the Binder Express Super Farm, the Schulte brothers. You recognize that name?
Oh yes, absolutely, and thank you, Wyatt. I appreciate that.
Great drive right up 41. Adam says.
Yeah, take you forever to get up through the mountains.
Oh, Danny, we'll talk about my hauler another day, but it says Kawasaki on the side of it. So I bet he saw my old hauler. Don't you think, Bruce? Probably heading to ship.
It's usually the way it works.
Yep.
Probably
I saw
heading
your
to
hauler.
Hearts one last time.
Yep. Andy Gerbaugh,
Yeah.
our the man, the myth, the legend. Alan, who do you like to listen to as an announcer? Past or present? You can do both, Alan.
I can do both. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I've had the opportunity, as we've talked about earlier, to work with some of the great voices around. Some of them still alive. Some of them have passed on. Doc Riley is a tremendous man to work with. He and I tell the same story. It seems like we can almost finish each other's sentences. Kenny Mack, that I've had the opportunity to work with. Larry Richwine is a very good announcer. I've had the opportunity to work with Larry a couple of times. Probably when I think about Butch Krieger, the late Butch Krieger, I had an opportunity to work with Butch early, and I'm not sure he understood me. Yeah, and because he would look at me and just crack up. Now, I'm not real sure why that was so tickled to him, but it was one of those things. I enjoyed working with Butch as well. Butch had a tremendous volume of information that he was willing to impart.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
So yeah, there's a lot of them out there that are very good. There are those that you say, well, I could work with you and help you a little bit, but that's not my part.
Yeah. What's the funniest thing that you can say about Doc Riley that you can actually say on the air? Like, what's a good tame Doc Riley story that will make us all laugh?
Oh, there are so many to choose from.
I know. That's why.
I may have to think about this for a bit.
We'll table that one.
We'll table that one. Let my mind work on that one for a little bit.
Kyle Fisher, Hot Shot Secret, says, as a sponsor, we really appreciate what Alan does. He's a big reason why these relationships work. So I would think, Charles and Alan, you can touch on that. I mean, we know you can have a great truck and tractor pull, but if the announcer sucks, it's not a good show. I mean, you guys are the ones that make it happen. So
I'm back to what I said earlier, Jason. Talk about what you have in front of you. Talk about what's going on. If there's nothing going on, you got a sponsor you can talk about. Yep. He's giving away free product tonight. He's giving away a chance to win something. Those are the things that you can drop in, and really people don't realize they just heard a commercial.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And you, if anybody is aspiring to be an announcer someday, and we need the next generation.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, we
to
do.
Announce. Charles,
yes.
If anybody ever says to you, have them watch this interview.
I definitely. There's resources out there to help people, and
exactly.
I'm willing to help anybody who's willing to come along and do this, because and Alan, you'll say this too. I can't be everywhere, and I turn down more stuff than I can do.
Exactly. And some of these days, and I hope I'm gracious enough when the time comes, when some young whippersnapper comes up to me and says, "Hey, old man, it's time for you to sit down." I hope I am gracious enough to say, thank you. It's been a good ride. Enjoy your time. It's a great group of people.
So in that vein,
and then I hope you tell all of us who it was, and we'll go knock them around a little bit after the show for being disrespectful.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for a new guy coming up?
I think probably the biggest thing I could say, and Charles, help me out here. I think you need to pay attention. I think you need to listen on what's going on. Listen to one of the things that I listen to a lot from my perspective and my vantage point is I can hear a power plant as it starts to spool up, and I listen. And then I equate that with how it ran at the other end of the track. Was it a good run? Did he come off the line right? Did it sound well at 80 feet, at 200 feet? Where did it start to go south? Those are the things you need to kind of pay attention to and understand what you're hearing.
Yep. I would agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Sound, you can learn almost as much about a guy's run by closing your eyes and just listening to it as you can what you see.
Exactly right. Mike's asking a question. How many years have I been announcing? I've been announcing not truck and tractor pulling, but as we started earlier in the show with Demolition Derby, I was a sophomore in high school, so it's been 50 plus years.
Wow. That's awesome.
And there's a tremendous amount of people that I've crossed paths with that have later on said to me, thank you. That makes you feel good. It really does. So someplace along the line, I did something that they appreciated.
That's cool.
If you had the opportunity to set the microphone down and strap on a crash helmet and go take a ride?
I have never had the opportunity to sit in the seat. I've always talked about that. I wouldn't know what to do. I tell everybody. I tell everybody in the grandstand what's going on as that guy starts to push the throttles, but I've never done it. I don't think
we know some people.
I don't think anybody trusts me with a vehicle.
All right. Well, let me ask the question that I usually ask at the end. I'm going to ask it now.
Uh-oh.
If you could take the keys, so to speak, to anything, past or present, and go pull with it for a weekend, what would you take?
Now, what you're forcing me to do there is you're forcing me to pick a track that I think is the best, and they each have their idiosyncrasies. You're also asking me to pick a vehicle that each one has its own idiosyncrasy. I've always thought that the semi class was an interesting group to watch run. There's some stories that I can tell you about some of them. But that would maybe be the one that I would feel the most comfortable in because, one, it's probably built about as bulletproof as anything, and I probably can't tear it up.
Perfectly completely fair assessment.
I tried.
Now what vehicle would it be?
I'll tell you.
And if we have to table that one and circle back to it, that's fine.
Yeah, here you go. You're going to give me all kinds of things.
It happens all the time.
As far as what track, Toma is one of my favorites because, well, I've been there the longest. Although Fort Recovery has a lot of history to me. There's a story that I can tell you about that as well. But either one of those tracks with let's say J.R. Collins Bulldog. I love watching that one run.
I like it. What would you do? What would you do if Miles Fain? Brent, help me there.
Yep, Miles Fain.
Yeah, Miles.
What would you do if Miles came up to you with a helmet and a driver's suit and said, "You're on, buddy"?
Well, I don't know.
Aside from flip out and turn about 5 shades of white.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I really don't know. That's an interesting question.
Because I've been asking this question every Monday night almost for probably 2 or 3 years now.
Okay.
At some point in time, one of the people that we've interviewed is going to get asked that question. And so I'm just kind of mentally trying to prepare you for the.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that.
It's probably hold my microphone and watch this,
Well, as I have talked with various people over the course of the past years, technology is improving to the place that we have enough good wireless equipment that a man could sit in the driver's seat and give you a play-by-play going down the track.
We've had it happen.
An interesting commentary.
We had
And
it.
it might just be a 12-second
a few
stream.
years ago.
Well, yeah, that's right. Well, the Outlaws did. Yes, I remember that now that I bring that up. Yeah.
What's one show that you've always wanted to call but never had the opportunity, either because of schedule or somebody else had it?
I think I've been fortunate enough to be able to work in the ones that I've been asked to do over the course of the years. Toma's been my longest running one in 30 plus years up there. And I pick up ones and twos here and there. And as the circuit changes, those change as well. I enjoyed my stint in Southern Illinois on that circuit that we did several years ago. Great people down there. Things fell apart and fair boards changed, etc. You know what? I don't know how to present that, because when you look at what you're dealing with from a quantity of events and a quantity of announcers that are available. Okay. What do? You're right. We can't be everywhere, Charles. You and I have tried that. And when you're gone 4 days a week and 5 days a week, no, it's no longer fun. Right. And when it's no longer fun, it's time to cut back on those a little bit.
I think I've heard Charles say those exact words to me.
Yes. Could be.
I spent 4 or 5 years doing 60 shows a summer, and that's too much.
Yes, it is. I start usually first weekend or second weekend in June and go through Labor Day. And that's about every weekend someplace. It may be a 2 or 3 day hook, and I may have one early in the week the following week. But other than that, that pretty well keeps me busy and on the road.
The Joe Stock said the pullers appreciate when you come around the pits to talk with them before the pulls.
Well, you need to do that, because Bob Jostock is one that I always go over and say, all right, Bob, what are we working on today? And Lisa is always the one that says, it's mine. Don't you know I messed it up? He told me I couldn't do it that way.
And then she gives you the biggest eye roll in the world and a big grin, right?
Exactly.
I might have seen that happen a time or two.
I talked to let me think here. Oh, it was the Bargies in Arcola this year. I couldn't figure out what was going on. It didn't look right. The way their haulers were parked, and they slid one off the truck. And I'm going, it's not rolling, it's sliding. What's the deal? And then all of a sudden I hear a hammer and a punch and language that cannot be repeated on the air. And I had to go find out what was going on. And I got over there and I said, boys, what's the deal? Well, we've got it stuck. And I said, what do you mean stuck? Well, you see there are 3 pedals in here on a turbine. Yeah. Left brake, right brake, and oh my God, in the middle. And I said, what happened? And he said, we had a little inexperience. And it was a panic mode. And he stabbed that center brake and froze everything up. And they said, we'll get it broken free. And they hammered on it probably an hour. Pretty soon I heard a whoop go up from the pit area over there. They had it moving and they ran that night. So it was one of those, it just welded it just tight enough and knocked it apart.
Perfect.
Oh boy.
I'm going to say a puller's name. Alan, You're going to tell me just whatever comes to your head. Larry Kester.
Larry Kester and I became very good friends. I had the opportunity, and it's no secret, I've told this story before. I introduced him, I think it may well have been at Fort Recovery. And he was always on his gator, and he rolled out to the line. And I made some smart aleck remark. Charles, you understand this. I said something to the fact, well, he brought his own wheels to the line. And in my ear, I hear radio traffic. Dummy, he's got no legs. And I thought, oh man, I didn't know the man. And I thought, okay, I need to address this situation. So as soon as the event was over, I walked down and he's on the floor, sitting on the ground, grinding tires. And I walked up and I said, Larry, and he turned around and looked at me and he goes, heard you. Don't reckon it'll happen again, will it? won't. And he and I became very, very good friends. That man has done more for the sport of pulling and safety than anybody I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's one of those unfortunate ones when you do something like that. You do feel about this tall, but again, going and visiting with the pullers in the pits, it's good because you do develop that sort of relationship to the point where now, if you want to do kind of needle somebody, you know who you can, and they're gonna be okay with it.
Exactly right, and know that it's not personal. You're just having a little fun with it.
Yep.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Chuck Fowler, I thought I recognized your voice from the Newton County Fair.
Okay.
You and Art Downs are two of my favorite announcers.
Well, thank you, Chuck. I appreciate that. Yeah, Art Downs is about
Bulldog.
about 7 miles from me.
Wow.
So I don't see him as often as I used to, but he had a sled, if I remember correctly, and that was one of the, I believe I'm correct on this, I think it was one of the old cable sleds, which goes back a ways.
So Chuck's saying that Art announced in his semi at the Iroquois County Fair.
Okay, there. All right, that wouldn't surprise me. Art was always ready to try something new.
Art's awesome.
That would be a very Art thing to do, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Exactly right. Exactly right.
I got to work with him at Gordyville over the years, and
Okay.
When I sat between him and Butch Krieger one day, you would have had to come up and slap me upside the face to realize what I was doing, and then
Actually, we did that twice.
Yeah, I was really
And it
trying
didn't
to
help
behave, and Butch said, "I was told you're fun and crazy," and I said, "Well, let's get some of that apple pie and let's get after it." So we did.
There you go.
So we did. So it was a good time.
That you bring up apple pie. It's a memory of mine from Mount Sterling, Illinois. I had the opportunity to work with Tom Min down there, which would be Bob Min's father. Bob's a flagman, was on the board for a couple of years as well. But I had the opportunity to work with Tom, and I got down there the first year, and he said, "Oh, good to see you. Welcome to the county fair." He hollered across the track. He said, "Bill," he said, "send me one of my lemonades." I was realizing too late that I'd gotten set up. And he brought that lemonade over, and I took a big old drag on it, and it was about 2/3 moonshine. It woke me right up. He says, "Kind of welcomes you to the fair, don't it?"
I love it.
Tom was quite a man. I enjoyed the opportunity to work with him as well. Here again, that's another one. He worked Southern Illinois and West Central Illinois, did a lot of shows over there. Was a member of that fair board over there, Brown County Fair, and did a lot of great work over there for him.
Alan, does your wife go to a lot of the polls with you ever?
She has always invited to go.
Okay.
She went 3 or 4 years to Toma. She was more into the flea markets and everything else that was going on up there. And she said, "I really can get more done at home if you're not there." And I said, "Okay." So she is always invited to go.
I love
God, that sounds so oddly familiar.
Yeah, I see lots of heads nodding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Colin Burkholz, can somebody fact check this? Did he spell idiosyncrasy correctly?
No, he
I
did
don't
not.
think he
No.
did.
No, he kind of butchered it.
I do have to be nice to Colin though. He just used me for his last house purchase. I did his mortgage for him, so I can't pick on him too much. So.
Well,
But I like how he says idiosyncrasy, not a word any of you goons would use on the show. So
Colin, I think that was the word that I slipped in there, and he caught it right quick.
yeah, he says damn phone. That's a Colin. Yeah. Morgan says the best part when I go to Toma, and this is so true, Alan. This is little fan crazy. When it's Thursday night and you hear him say, "Welcome everybody to the Budweiser Dairyland Super Nationals in Toma, Wisconsin." Say it for us.
Exactly
Alan.
right. Exactly right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Budweiser Dairyland Super Nationals here in Toma, Wisconsin.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Can I get that? Can anybody make that my ringtone, please?
Oh yeah, that's all you need is that for a ringtone.
Yep,
That's
that
what
would be
you
awesome.
need, Jason.
He'll never answer his phone again.
No, that's true.
Oh, I will.
He'll let it play 6 or 7 times to go to voicemail, and then he can think about calling you back.
There you go.
Yep,
There you go.
Pretty much.
Bradley Sturgeon's watching on YouTube. Do you get to attend or announce much in Kentucky at all, Alan?
I go through Kentucky a lot. That's the Krieger territory down there, and not saying that I wouldn't be glad to help either one of those guys down there. I have been to Louisville. I've never had the opportunity to work the show in Louisville at the farm show, but as far as a specific event in the state, no, I have not.
When was the last time you got to sit and just watch a poll and listen and not announce?
Boy, I've got to think about. I don't know. It's usually one of those things that I may not be the go-to announcer, but I'm the backup, and I'm sitting there. If he needs something, he'll turn around and I'll take over for him. It's kind of the way we tag team things at Enderley. If I'm standing in the background and they need something, I'll step up and put something in. But as far as to sit and watch one, be honest, guys, I'm not sure I could.
Same, 100%. I can't do it.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a
As a
terrible
photography,
fan.
I literally don't know what to do with my hands.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. You're right. You're right.
Oh, I love it.
Who are
That's
some of
something
the
we
great
asked.
announcers that you've gotten to that you've been able to work with, or like the ones that are coming up. Have you gotten to work with any of the younger
There have been
generation?
a couple of the younger ones that have come up, and to use Jason's quote, they refer to me as legendary, and I keep telling them, no. I just enjoy working with you guys, and it's interesting to see the technology that they are using that I have watched develop and decided I really don't need that technology. They're always checking a phone or something for a result or what's going on or the current ratings as far as point standing. That to me is not necessarily as important to the crowd that's sitting there as maybe it is if you're sitting at home listening to this on the radio or on a live stream feed or something. That would be interesting to them. But the people that are sitting in the stands, that's not as important to know that, well, this was last year's, third place finish in region 2, and they're chasing the points, etc. That's important, but where they are currently, no, I don't think. And that's me talking there.
So would you say that the becoming of live stream has changed how you're announcing them through some of that?
I am aware of live stream. Let me put it that way. I'm not, it doesn't scare me other than the fact that I have to realize that, like tonight, once it's said, it's out there. You can't take it back. You might as well do it right to begin with. It's the way I look at it.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Lisa, what's the furthest away you've announced a pull? Well, I go from Toma to Chapel Hill to Canton, Ohio, in every place amongst those three. So, Lisa, I'll let you do your homework and tell me where it came up, what you come up with.
I saw this one from Shane Hunt. So Shane said that he won't forget the summer when he had asked you if you enjoyed your time at Chapel Hill, and you looked at him and asked if he had a good time, and he said yes, and then you said you did too. So
that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Cool.
It was my first opportunity to go to Chapel Hill, and they made me feel very, very welcome down there. They asked me at convention, and I didn't really want to commit to them, and I thought, no, I owe it to Chris Gilbert to go down there and see if I can make sure that the Super Bowl of the South stays as successful as it has been, and that's what I tried to do.
Well said. Well said.
What's your favorite class to announce?
I don't know. I thought for a while that the smokers were going to be the favorite class, because I mean that's really where it all started in my way of thinking. I watched the men with the Super M's and the W9s and etc. and the old stone boats. So that was tractor pulling to me, and then to watch the explosion of these classes go along. I think anything that blows smoke and anything that makes noise is a good class. I think I covered them all, didn't I?
I think you did. Well said.
Boy, you're really going to be screwed if they ever bring in, Teslas into polling.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Canton, Ohio loves having you, Alan.
Well, I appreciate going to Canton. Danny Schmucker asked me to come a couple of years ago, and he said, "Can you come on Friday and Saturday?" And I said, "Okay." So I've been there now 2 years to be a 2-day event. I enjoy that. They take great care of me out there. That little fairgrounds, if you've never been to Canton, you need to go. It's landlocked. And I mean, you come off a city street and all of a sudden you're on the fairgrounds. And in 150 feet, you're in the infield because you've come across the horse track. But what they can do with that limited space that they have, it's a marvelous fairgrounds. It's great.
Yeah, Danny Schmucker was on the show a couple weeks ago, right, guys?
Yep.
Yeah.
And we know they got region pull of the year, I'm pretty sure, at
Yes.
the banquet this year. And somebody said, "How did you get Washburn to announce both nights?" And he said, "I just asked him."
It's
It was
exactly
so
right.
cute the way Danny said it. So
Yeah, he just asked. He just asked, and that's fine. That's
yeah,
the way a
stuff
lot
like
of it
this.
works.
Yeah. Thank you, Alan, for the kind words and moment of silence in my dad's honor at the Darke County Fair. Michael Palmer said that. So.
You're more than welcome, Michael. Your dad was a great friend of mine, and someone that was probably one of the driving forces at Darke County. And the Palmers have always been very good friends of mine. Thank you. I appreciate that, Michael.
Yep. I love all the questions like ask Alan his favorite class, and I'm not going to do that to Alan. Alan isn't going to answer that. He will in his nice Alan way. I like anything that smokes and makes noise. So I'm just going to save those questions if you guys want to get a little more creative on a couple of you that keep hammering me. I am not going to ask Alan those questions. So.
Damn, we've all been admonished to step up our game.
Yeah.
Could be, guys.
So William,
I want to thank you guys. You've all been very kind to me, and I appreciate that.
Alan, do you have a favorite adult beverage that you partake in?
I have said this before, and I'll say it again. I do not begrudge anybody a beer, especially after the show's over. There's nothing that'll take the smoke and the taste of the dust and dirt out of your throat any faster than a beer. But usually one's enough.
Yep. So William Lomberg has invited you to his campsite at Pulltown, and you can have free bush lattes. That's what he said up really.
Alan, he confessed to us like 2 weeks ago that he buys like a pallet of it. I mean,
he does.
He's got every barrel loaded.
Okay, all right. Well, that's nice to know.
Yeah.
I got one for you, Alan.
Sure.
Through all your years of announcing polling, what's like one of the special moments that you've got to be a part of? You mentioned like the proposal with Bob and Lisa, but what else, like in all of your 30 plus years or 50 years of motorsports? I guess it can be anything. What's one that just kind of sticks out in your mind as being special?
We talked about the tribute that I do to the veterans, and it was at Washington, Ohio. The first year I did that, I was introduced to the man that was the detail commander of all the American Legion posts. They came out and presented the colors, etc. When I finished with that speech, and I told him what I was going to do, kind of gave him a general rough idea, and I told him what I was going to do. And when I finished with that man looked at me and saluted. You do not salute a civilian. And I mean, I was almost weak at the knees, guys. I really was. That was very, very special to me. And I've always remembered Washington as a very special place for me.
That's awesome.
Wow, what do you say? What do you say to that? Nothing.
Yeah, how do you follow that?
Yeah.
Wow.
On a completely different direction, what's the wildest pass you've ever called?
LD Nation at Mount Sterling, Illinois, at 150 feet. I mean, he was just nuts. up in the air, front end bouncing, etc. And the sled came unhooked. LD had everything full bore on those turbines. The kill switch worked just exactly as it was supposed to. When they got him stopped, they shot a laser of him, and he was at 753 feet.
Holy crap!
What year, Alan, would that have been?
Yeah,
that was the year before we put the cross piece on the tip of the hook to keep it from coming unhooked off the tractor.
Yeah,
That's the LD Nation rule.
Yeah,
that's
every
funny.
rule has a name attached.
Yes,
to it.
thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you so
Exactly.
I might have a video clip of that. I'm looking.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
digging for
possibly.
right now. Lisa Jostock, this is a good one. What do you do to prepare for a pull, Mr. Washburn?
Well, I find all the girls and give them a big hug, and we're ready to roll. At least
Alan? Alan, I have a special guest for you. Are you ready for this?
Sure, absolutely.
Larry
Lord.
Richwine, welcome to the show, buddy. Larry,
Yeah, we're in the farm shop there. I can see that.
Larry, is it true? Larry, is it true you're responsible for Alan Washburn's announcing career?
Most certainly.
Oh my God, this is so cool. Alan, as soon as you said that, I started texting Richwine. I'm like, I need you on here. I need you on here. So,
Did he tell you the story?
no, we want them all. Larry, it's
No,
time.
we want to hear your version of it and compare. We'll compare notes.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. Yeah, fact check here.
Was it okay if I finish, even though it's not politically correct, which we all know I'm not? Is it okay?
Clearly.
Spoke my
Clearly.
cigar to it?
No, Larry, we don't. We like you just the way you are. We like you just the way you are, Larry. So.
Well, I don't know if you can say this on whatever we're on stream, but that's bullshit, Jason. Anyway, I know you.
I love it. I love it.
So I was doing, in the mid 90s, before I took the job that I just retired from. I was doing about all the events in Indiana. Between me and John Bannett, we were doing about all of them. And we was doing the Indiana State Fair, and I had done for several years. And my father passed away on August 21st of 1989, and that was during the fair. And so I called the director of entertainment at the Indiana State Fair, Rex Coons, and told him, I said, my father passed away last night. And I had 1 or 2 nights left of pulling. And I said, have you got somebody that can cover my shows? And he said, yeah, we'll get it covered. And I had walked around the fair for many years, just with friends, mocking this guy that would say, welcome to your Indiana State Fair. State Fair time, 12 noon. I mean, and I'd mocked the guy walking around for years. Anyway, so we took care of Dad and everything was done. And I went back up. The fair was in its last day or two. And I thought, well, I ought to go meet the guy that took my place while I took care of Daddy. And long story short, I walked into the administration office. And I don't know if I can say this on the stream either, but I said, I want to meet the son of a bitch that announced the tractor pull last night. And Alan stood up from the other side of the room and went, I did. I said, well, I want to shake your hand and thank you very much. And appreciate you taking care of me and my time in need. So the Indy Super Bowl comes around, and that's all I had met Alan, other than I did tell him, I think, that I'd been mocking him for years. Welcome to the Indiana State Fair. Anyway, long story short, too late. Typical Richwine. Indiana State Fair was fine, but we got the Indy Super Bowl, and whoever was supposed to announce it had bowed out, and we had Doc Riley, and I was running the show. I was on the track, and Schreier asked me the day before. Dave Schreier said, do you know anybody here in Indiana that's a good announcer? And I says, well, we need to call this guy Alan Washburn. I said, he's got great pipes. And I said, call him. He goes, was any good? I said, I tell you what, if you don't like him, I'll pay him. And so we called Alan, and Alan was working with Doc at the show. And Alan works with anybody. I mean, some announcers, they try to I don't know, talk over the other guy, a lot like you do, Jason. Anyway, no, Jason, you're a big deal. You really are. Just ask yourself. Anyway, you contact. Long story short, again, too late. Well, I don't know that I can say Schreier loved him, but Dave did say during the show on the radio, Larry, you are right about this Washburn guy. And the rest is history. Is that about right, Alan?
You're exactly right, sir. Yes.
I love
it. But it all happened because my father passed during the Indiana State Fair, which I've already outlived him. He was 64 and a half, and I'll be 66 on Groundhog's Day. But my daddy he was a hardworking farmer and drove a school bus for 40 years, but he passed. And by that chance, Alan and I met, and then I recommended Alan to Mr. Schreier, and that's history. So,
yep.
So who all we got on here?
Well, we got Brent Yarin, me, the big deal, Larry, you know, Charles Posh.
You are a big deal.
So, Alan, Larry and I have this little thing that we kind of call each other a big deal. So I actually had some T-shirts made up one year that say "Smoke machines suck," and I gave them to him at Cloverdale one year. So that was a lot of fun down there.
Yeah, it's got a picture of my face with the beard, winter coat. And it says, Larry says smoke machines suck, which is a quote that he picked up on the radio.
Yep.
I said, geez, guys, these smoke machines suck. But anyway.
You're never sure what Larry's going to come up with on the radio.
Hey, Larry, you're familiar with Tony Reed from TikTok, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we've had him on the show, so you can say whatever you want. Okay, that's
well, yeah, because he starts every TikTok with "Hey fuckers" or whatever, you know. Yeah.
Yep, pretty much. That's how he rolls it out.
You know me, I'm kind of conservative, and
yeah, you and your delicate sensibilities.
Yeah, thank you.
I am sensitive. I'm very sensitive.
Is it true? So Brad says, I think Larry always says, if you don't like my announcing, my name is Alan Washburn. Is that what you say in Sandwich?
Well, occasionally. But what it is, I do Georgetown, Ohio, the Brown County Fair down there. It's a non-sanctioned event, which now that's what I'm going to do a lot of. Anyway, long story short, too late. Did I get that? I got that in there, didn't I?
Yeah,
you did.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I always say, welcome to the night's event. If you like what you're hearing, my name is Larry Richwine. If you don't like what you're hearing, my name's Denver Getchy, or my name's Dwayne Edwards, or my name's Alan Washburn, or whatever. And a couple times I think I've actually been Jason Schultz.
Well, that's why I've never been asked to go back to some of these places.
No. And so Denver one time approached me. He goes, I don't know if I like that. And I says, well, I'm sorry. I said, it's actually a compliment. And he goes, it is? I went, I said, think about it. But no, he didn't like it. So I did it more the next year.
That's right.
I would expect no less from you, Larry.
Thank you, Ryan.
Alan, yes. tell us some good Larry stories now that he's retired.
Throw him right under the bus.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Larry, you have to remember, though, guys, Larry and I go back a long way, so there's very little that he and I can do to each other that we haven't done already.
We go back to
that's fine. We can rehash some things.
Mine's out before we go back.
That's true. It's interesting when Larry's on the track and I'm working with someone. Larry asks me specifically, which ear am I in? I've got my radio headset on and I'm listening radio traffic in one and the program of the other announcer in the other ear. And he does that for a reason, because then he can bury the guy that's sitting beside me and it doesn't take long. And the guy is just doubled over on the floor, and Butch Krieger was the worst. You could take Butch Krieger in 30 seconds, and he would not be worth a darn for the whole first class.
He couldn't talk, yeah. But Butch, the first time I worked with Butch, I think was Hillsboro, Missouri, or somewhere. Anyway, it was somewhere. Alan wasn't there. And he was monitoring me, of course, Butch was, and I said something. I looked up at the tower to see his reaction, and he went. And I knew I had him. So yeah, I reeled him in pretty hard.
I knew I had him.
That's right. It was very easy to knock him off stride, and very hard to get him back on stride. But it was one of those things that I would simply look at Larry and I could tell where he was going with the story he was starting to tell right there. And he and I worked together long enough and often enough that I could tell by the tone of his voice, I could tell by the way the weather was cooperating or not cooperating, what we were going to do. We didn't need to confer with each other. I knew that Larry was going to try and run and finish this class. He was not going to mess around. We're going to get these people out of here in a safe manner. And that's what we tried to do.
Well, that happened one year at Toma. We had a storm come, and they told me, we've got storm like 20 minutes out or whatever. And then we had lightning like 10 mile away or whatever. And I had 2 pro stalkers to run at Toma. Right. And for some reason, when they told me to shut down the show, we got lightning too close. For some reason, one of my headset ears kicked off. I didn't hear it.
Weird how that happens, huh?
Yeah, it happens occasionally.
And Alan and I kept talking, and a little bit on the radio, but no, I did not hear them, Your Honor. I did not hear them say, we got to shut it down. And I ran the last 2. And afterwards, Mr. Schreier scolded me pretty hard. He goes, "Damn it, Larry, we could have got somebody hurt." And I said, "Well, I know that, but I took a judgment call, which probably is why I'm where I'm at." Anyway, long story short, too late. And then the newspaper came out the next morning there in Toma, the local paper, and they admired the newspaper, made comment how the show was conducted well, and even though the oncoming storm, they finished the class and everybody got to leave in an orderly fashion. And it was just a roll of the dice that I did a lot, but it happened to work that time. And Alan and I knew exactly what we were doing. But
they're telling us that it was in 2013, and I think that was it. And you're right. I knew what Larry was doing. I also knew that we had people in the grandstand that we needed to get out. But you don't, and we talked about this very early in the show, Charles, you and I talked about it. If the wrong words are used in the wrong context, in the wrong tone of voice at the wrong time, people get hurt.
Yeah. You can't say, "Ladies and gentlemen, please evacuate the grandstand," and then shut the mic off.
Yeah,
because
right.
they all run, and you can't do that. But
I've gotten awful wet sometimes being the last one out of the tower too.
I know. But, it did not rain on those last 2 vehicles.
It did not.
But it rained like a goose, or cow on a flat rock right after that.
Exactly right.
So I joined this party late. So what did I miss?
Well, Alan is a legendary voice of Toma, and that's close to my house. And I got to listen to Alan and Doc talk at the NTPA banquet, and I asked Alan to come on our show, and then he told we got into how did you get announcing, and he said your name, and so I started texting you right away because I wanted to bring you on because you're always fun to have on, Larry, and I just thought that'd be good for Alan too. Maybe get him to loosen up a little bit.
I appreciate it.
And in the meantime, we had about 10 minutes to just completely bag on you for who you are, and you
go back and watch
before you jumped on. It was great.
Do you know you're not the first one to do that?
Yeah, probably won't be the last.
It was like a Friars Club roast.
You know what? I hated I missed it, but yeah. Jason, I know you've been plugging the Florida Pullers there in Zellwood on the 3rd and 4th or 4th or 5th, whatever it is, the week after I'll be in Ocala. Are you going to announce that show?
Yeah, I'm announcing Zellwood. Yep.
Very good.
Figured you would, yeah. So
Larry, William Lumberg wants to know what you smoke. What's your cigar of choice?
Actually, I'm smoking something that's way out of my price range. I'm actually smoking a Stillwell Star English number 27. There's a show here. They've got a podcast, but there's a show here in Indianapolis on WIBC. It's called Eat, Drink, Smoke. And they every Sunday or Saturday, I guess it is, they go somewhere and they drink bourbon and they smoke cigars. And I normally smoke a cigar that's Colombian. My tenant in my apartment smokes stuff that smells like Colombian, but it's a bit different smell. Anyway, but I'm just saying. But this is actually Stillwell number 27 and Stillwell Star. And I bought them for myself for Christmas. Wife and I, after 44 years, if you want something, buy it. That'll be your Christmas. and if she wants something, buy it. That'll be her Christmas. And they're about, I don't know. I mean, you buy them one at a time, they're probably $20 a piece. But I bought a box of 10, and they're really good cigars, and they got a lot of pipe tobacco in them. I'm not a big smoker, but I do enjoy a good cigar. And when I got the text from Jason, I thought, well, why not do it right? And it was about half gone.
Attaboy. What's since you mentioned bourbon, what's your bourbon of choice?
Oh, I've always been a Crown man, but Lyndon,
that was Schreier's fault.
That's not really bourbon. It's whiskey, but I got a son-in-law that's got some relation in Kentucky, and he's into the bourbons, and he wants me to sample stuff. But I'm not really a drinker, and never been a beer drinker. I've drank more beer in Toma than I have my entire life, because they used to hand you a can of Budweiser and say, "Here, welcome to Toma," hand it to you.
Exactly right.
And
they gave you a beer.
Everybody got a 6-pack, but I have to be really hot, and the beer has to be really cold for me to drink a beer. But whatever. But I'm kind of a Crown man, and Linda and I were sick most of December, and I wound up with my Diet Coke having a little Fireball in it to make it a cinnamon Diet Coke. Yeah.
Oh Lord, I'm so sorry. You must have really been sick.
He was. It had to be sick. Yeah.
Linda and I both were sick on and off the entire month of December. It just
woof.
And she hadn't gone to the doctor in years since the breast cancer days, and she went twice in 1 week. And she's usually the strong one. I'm usually the wimp, but it wasn't COVID. It wasn't influenza. It wasn't the RSVP or whatever the hell they talk about. But we were both very sick, and luckily I'm feeling better. I didn't smoke the cigar. I didn't want to waste the taste on a bitter palate, you know. But no.
Well, there are a handful of us who are kind of bourbon nuts on this show, and you know we're kind of interested in what you drink, so that next time we see you, we can partake together. Well, you bring the cigars, you bring the cigars, we'll bring the bourbon.
You walk up with a Crown and Diet Coke, and unless I'm deep in thought or giving a deposition or testimony, I'll help you drink it.
Larry, I don't know if I've ever seen you deep in thought, so I think we're safe there.
Yeah, you got a point there. You have a point.
But you know,
he's gonna slug me the next time he sees me.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Jason, go ahead, Larry.
Jason's the big deal here. I mean, god dang.
Yeah, well, that's what I understand. Yeah.
Alan, how many times have you announced actually with Larry at a show, or is it more Larry was running tech and you were in the stand announcing?
Larry and I sat side by side, I think 2 or 3 times, but as a general rule, Larry's on the track, and I know that the show will run smoothly at that point in time.
We make a good team as far as on-track communication with the tower. When Alan's up there, I've never had an issue with him saying things wrong or announcing something wrong. Very rarely have I corrected him, you know, but I don't care for an announcer that basically talking out his ass and don't know what he's talking about. I just soon they read the name on the town, you know, but most of them and most of us know enough about the sport, especially the ones on here right now, that it's an educated thing. When I announce, I try to let the crowd know what's happening and explain how the sled works and stuff, just in case they've never been to a pull. I want them to enjoy it.
Been there. It's kind of like getting on an airplane and they tell you how to fasten the seatbelt together, like you've never done that before.
Well, it's amazing how many times you got to climb up on the cage and dress the damn guys before they take off.
That's true.
It's also amazing how many of them foot shaking on the brake pedal, and you would think they've driven long enough that it wouldn't be shaking. But the only one that I know that never, ever, ever, ever shook in front of me was Aston Lane.
Well, yeah.
But you know, if anybody's got the record for times down the track, it's probably Aston.
That's true. Yeah, I agree.
But I had an awful good run, and I'm looking forward to. I'll be announcing the ones that I've announced in the past, and I picked up a few in Michigan, I think, and just got done with the Indiana Fair Convention, the Hoosier State Tractor Pullers that I've been secretary on and off since 1978 of. We had more interest from fairs than we've had in years at the fair convention. I think a lot of the people entertainment dollar, they're not going to drive to Disney World with $4 gas and $5 diesel fuel. I mean, they're going to go closer to home. I think that's why last year, everywhere we went, we had extra good crowds, I think.
Exactly right. We did.
So,
Alan, what's the funniest thing you've ever heard Larry say over the radio?
You can't repeat it.
Well, what's
It
you are a
matches.
gentleman. You are a gentleman. What's
that
the
goes
funniest
past
thing that
growing
you
corn.
can repeat, Alan?
That goes past growing corn 2020. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Oh, occasionally Larry will use an innuendo. He starts to crowd that line real close, and somebody ahead of you in the audience will turn around and go, "You said what?" Well, I'm just repeating what Larry told me.
Yeah. My most used line was after something went wrong or sled setting sucked or something that nobody but us knew. I'd say, "Wow, looked like I picked the wrong week. Quit sniffing glue," which is a line from Airplane. But
Yeah, exactly right.
Yep.
Larry has a tendency to sum up in very few words what the rest of us only use one word and say, "Damn."
I've always been the one that wasn't afraid to say what most people were thinking, but just didn't have the guts.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So, Larry, I never got to listen to you announce a full show. You were announcing Sandwich. We had our team down there, videoing and selling shirts and stuff, and we promoted Sandwich for them. We got rained out in Missouri, and I bought the podcast, the show, the NTPA live stream, and I put it right there above my steering wheel, and I'm driving home. And you started doing your Dolly Parton jokes and stuff, and all the crap I've caught over the years announcing at Gordyville. And I said to Charles and Bruce, I said, Richwine gets away with way more. I mean, I am always like pulloff.com. They eat me alive after every Gordyville. Now, I did partake in too much Crown Royal when I was announcing at Gordyville, and I don't do that anymore. But those people still remember. Danny Schmucker even said, I remember those early years.
Well, the Dolly Parton joke, I actually don't use anymore unless it's requested. I told that joke 40 years ago. Before I met Alan, I was telling that. And it's real simple. If you've never heard it, I'll say, ladies and gentlemen, I understand that Dolly Parton's in the crowd tonight. She loves truck and tractor pulling. And I just got a message that she's with us tonight. Let's see where I just understand she's about 280 feet on the other side, halfway up. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Dolly Parton. And then I go, well, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. It's just two bald-headed men sitting very close together. Anyway, I've told that joke since the 80s. And like Sandwich, I wasn't going to tell it because everybody's heard it. And I swear to God, they did it to me at Georgetown and at Sandwich and somewhere else I was at last year. They look up and goes, Dolly Parton coming, Larry? Well, no. And then, and I thought, oh, all right, here we go. And then I tell the Dolly Parton. But yeah, it's bad to be requested things like you say. But if you think about it, I've always teetered on that line between.
You have.
Yeah.
That's why we love you.
Yeah. Not everybody does, trust me.
Well, I let me tell you, I kind of have the same reputation. It's going to be okay.
You know what?
All right, let's not turn this into a support group.
I didn't notice that. You know what? Let's just go around the room and see what everybody else thinks. Yeah.
Yeah. Alan, did you ever get to announce the Banner Brothers at all?
Yes. Had the opportunity many times to talk about the fact that man could put more Chevrolet engines on a frame of one vehicle than anybody this side of the Atlantic. Because there were some of the boys overseas that could put more engines on, and they always used Chevrolet 350 engines. And they had, I think, 8 or 10 someplace in, I think, was it Holland, Larry? I think so.
It was the Netherlands.
The Netherlands, someplace over there. And I asked them, I had the opportunity, I said, why Chevy engines? They said, everybody can get parts for those. So we can't in this country. They said, we just make a phone call. Well, it helps when you've got connections.
Yeah, Ralph an excellent engineer and a good friend of mine. I was going to Garden City, Kansas, and met Ralph, and he actually designed my second tractor. Cockshut showed me how he takes the transmission off, or took the transmission off and put a pinion set up on it in the Pizza Hut in Garden City, Kansas, on a napkin. I bought the pitcher of beer. I wasn't old enough to drink the beer, but I bought the pitcher of beer, and he designed my tractor, my second tractor. And we got home. I called him up and said, Ralph, build that pinion set up and I'll be up, pick it up. But no, Ralph was a good friend and a heck of a good guy, but he was pretty shy in the public.
Yes.
Alan, Larry, over the years, like, did you guys ever have a chance to kind of all get together and just tell stories? Like maybe only the banquet was the only time you guys were all together, but do you guys ever get a chance to get together, or is it just work?
Anytime the entry trailer's got a door open, I'll sit inside and we'll figure out what's going on. And all of a sudden, oh, hey, it's showtime. We got to go.
I've often said if I had written one paragraph per event over the 30 years that I was in charge of them, and I started pulling in 1974 as a junior in high school with 2 small blocks. So if I'd have written a paragraph an event on who was doing what was the rumor, who was shagging who in the pits, and whose kid was getting in trouble with the law because he was drinking or whatever, I'd have had a bestseller. They'd have put it on the fiction shelf, but it would have been true. But,
yeah, you're right.
They would have put it on the fiction shelf, but it would have been true.
I've had one hell of a good time, guys. So.
No, it's great. But just the entertainment factor, Alan, that you provide, and Larry, that you provide, two completely different styles, obviously, but they both work. They're both memorable, and that's what makes it great. And as a lifelong pulling fan, I can't believe both you guys are on. I'm glad you were watching your phone, Larry, and weren't too deep into your diet and crowns. So
I haven't had a diet and crown in a month, but there in December I had a little fireball to cut the phlegm.
Doctor's orders.
Yeah, that's right.
But no,
all right. I got a question for both of you guys, since both of you guys have picked up the mic a few times. And actually, Jason, I'm going to ask you too. And I don't know the answer to this. Have any of the 3 of you guys announced a first timer? And if so, what was that like?
A first time.
First time driving a tractor in competition.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Bunch of
times.
Let's hear some names. Let's do some name dropping here.
Oh, that's what it's going to be hard for me to do.
The entire Theobald family. I mean,
yeah.
I do that event like after the Enderley of George Everett. Geez, he's thinking about me. Of Georgetown, Ohio. And down there, it doesn't matter who drives or how young or old you are.
Right.
And a bunch of them that's their first shot down there. They've tried it. I mean, from the Bomber kid, Darren Bomber's son, Colton, to all the Theobalds, including Renee. I mean, it's hard to say. I do know that
Bomber's kid is driving now.
Huh?
Bomber's kid is driving now.
He's got his own tractor.
You're going to find out this week.
Holy crap! All right. I'm paying more attention now.
Yeah, Colton got a second tractor. Yeah. Anyway, but they've all done it, and like Brandon Phillips is the only kid I know. Well, not the only one. There's 2 or 3 other ones. Kielmar's kid and a bunch of other ones. I mean, there's some of the few children that were 16 years old, 2 years in a row at NTPA competition. Anyway, but Larry Phillips asked me, he goes, can Brandon drive NTPA? And I says, well, you got to be 16. He goes, well, he's not. And I said, I don't know anything. I said, that's up to you. We don't ask for birth certificates, but yeah. But no, I've probably seen 40 or 50 of them, only because I do that pull down there where basically anybody can climb on the seat. But I don't know.
It's interesting, and Larry brings it up, to watch over the course of the years. You see the second generation and then the third generation that's starting to sit in the driver's seat. When Grant Theobald started driving, I mean, he had to start someplace, but he had 2 good parents that were giving him a lot of instruction. Grandpa was sitting back over here. Both sides were keeping him headed where he needed to go. And when that young man picked up his first Grand National win, you couldn't have held him down with 4 ropes tied to his feet because he was floating so high. That was neat to do, because it's one of those things. It's a very special event in his life. Let's make it special for him as well.
Well, and now Mason.
Yes.
In fact, they never thought about it, but at Bowling Green this year, I said, so is Mason going to drive the 2-wheeler or something at Georgetown this year? And he wasn't quite 16 yet. He is now. And he looked at me, Mason did, and he went, looked at his mom, looked at his dad, and they said, "We haven't talked about it." And I says, "Well, Grant drove there for the first time. Why the heck wouldn't Mason?" And so he did, and he had a ball. And he came out and thanked
exactly.
Uncle Larry, thanks for suggesting that. And I says,
Right.
"Well, no charge. Buy me a Diet Coke, you know." But
Travis Schlabach says, "Glad you didn't write that book, Larry. I might have made chapter or two." Travis said that.
well,
Larry, it's not too late to start.
His crew would have made the book. I guarantee you.
Yep.
Yeah, and you know what? I might write it yet. I've lost part of that memory, but not all of it.
Not all of it.
I'd buy that book.
It would be on the fiction shelf, but I guarantee you it'd be true. So
you just send me a link to Amazon and I'll buy it.
I know Alan announced Brad Schmeshming's bionic buzzard at Fort Recovery. Brad is Jan's grandson. Schmesh.
Okay.
Schmeising. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't spell, but that's close. You know. That's all right. I can't spell either. There's a reason I'm not behind the computer right now. You know.
If that tractor could talk about how many times it's been down the track, including the fuel rod that they push forward on the top engine right before they take off, that old thing's got 1 million miles on it, 300 foot at a time.
Yeah, that's true. It does. And it is going to be one of those that he's going to run or not run. And if it runs, it's going to run pretty good.
Technically, it qualifies for both the Legends and EPA competition.
Well said.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
Yeah.
One of the few.
Yes, the Legend thing. Von Bauer says, "Well, the reason some of that stuff's parked in a fence row." And I'm going, yeah. But no, they've got their own following and they do a good job. But somebody said, "Richwine, why don't you get one of yours out? Do you know where they are?" And I said, "Yeah, I know where 2 of them are. But I ain't getting that old crap out again. There's a reason I sold it and got away from it." So
that's right.
Yeah, but we had fun. Still am having fun. It's not over yet.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
And I get sentimental old farts sometimes nobody would believe, but there's no other sport that I feel like any of us could be affiliated with that is more family oriented and welcome families into the pits to see our vehicles and welcome people to want to play, want to go buy one. Nobody comes over and says, "Geez, you buy that old piece of crap." They welcome you in there, and I'm very proud to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can speak for all of us and say that we all fall into that category.
Yeah, I think so.
And Alan, to your point about watching that next generation, or in your case, 2 generations down, that's one of the best parts of my job.
Yeah.
Watching kids go from kids who are just trying to steal the keys to mom and dad side by side so they can go and
right.
be pit rats,
mm-hmm.
to running valves with dad, to suddenly, holy crap, this kid's got her own fire suit.
Exactly right. Exactly.
And then to watch them take it to like Louisville in their rookie year. I mean, Alan, I shoot a lot of outlaw stuff, and I got to watch Daley Paulson, who's Cody. How old is he? 17?
17 now. 16 when she was at Louisville. Yeah.
16 in her rookie year, made the cut, got invited to Louisville, and watched that kid be absolutely starstruck when the spotlight hit her and when she had her jacket on, and just seeing that, because I remember that kid when she was running around as a 9-year-old, or an 8-year-old kid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the best parts for probably all of us. If I'm really being honest, I mean, me as a photographer, but I mean, you guys as announcers, you remember when these kids were ankle biters.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Well, when I met Keith Theobald, it was in 1981. He bought Lanny Clifford's tractor, which was an old Dalton chassis, out of Greencastle, Indiana. And they pulled up underneath the shade tree on the other side of the shade tree in Plainville, Indiana in 1981. And they had 2 little old toe-headed kids, and it was Doug and Todd.
Yep.
And of course, Doug turned 50 this year, which I felt ancient. But I pulled against Keith and pulled against Doug a little bit, watched him pull even more. And of course, Renee is technically family because her brother is Bud Gettinger, and Bud Gettinger is my son-in-law. And of course, the gene pool's about this deep in part of Poland. But anyway, my grandchildren are Gettingers. That's also part. I won't tell you that chapter. Anyway, but no, I pulled against Keith and pulled with, watched Doug and now Grant, and now Mason's going to be running this year. And it's just awesome. I mean, I've been so blessed.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is a blessing for us to be able to watch that.
Most certainly. I agree.
Most memorable winner's circle moment would have to be Greg Hibbett's at Tomah, Wisconsin.
Yes.
Young lady received the frisbee that San Pico was throwing out that had Greg Hibbett's name on it. So she was down, entitled to a picture with the winner, etc. So she was about 5 or maybe 6. Now, Greg Hibbett's is a tall young man. And she walked right up, and she wasn't knee high. And you just watched her head go up and up and up and up. And she said, "My, you're tall." In his infinite wisdom, he just grabbed that young lady and set her up on the steps of the truck. At that point in time, she was eye level to him. And you couldn't have asked for a better photography opportunity right there. That was the one that I remember the most.
I wonder if she remembers it like you do.
I don't know. It would be interesting if I don't know who she was. I really don't.
Wouldn't that be cool to be able to find her and say, "Do you remember that?"
Tell you a finder story here very quickly, because I mean we're way over time tonight, Jason.
Well, no, Alan. It's we've gone for hours, so I'm just when you're tired, just say time for bed.
Right. So. Yeah. You got to remember. I'm an hour ahead of you. I was in Salem, Illinois. This has been many years ago. A young lady, about 6 years old, did the anthem for me. And bless her heart, she was so small and so short, she couldn't get up on, they set her up on the 9-wheel roller out in the middle of the track. Handed her the microphone, and she belted out the anthem and absolutely hit every single word. Man, she did a job. And everybody applauded, etc. Fast forward 16 years. I'm back in Salem. This girl comes up to me and she said, "Do you remember me?" Guys, that will floor any one of you when any girl walks up and says, "Do you remember me?"
I'll bet it does.
Yes. And I looked at her and I said, your eyes are familiar. And that's what I noticed about a lot of them. She said, 16 years ago, I sang the anthem for you here at the tractor pull. I'm here to do it again this evening for you. Wow. She was 21 years old. And
that's a weak in the knees moment, isn't
it? Exactly right. And that voice was just as crisp and clean and pure as it was the day she sang it for me. It's one of those things. You remember those things. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Alan always did the TV interviews for the winners at Enderley.
I try to do that, and it's interesting because you'll get a little bit of a taste of what they have been through the entire year. To win Enderley is a Bowling Green ring, technically, from that standpoint, as far as level of accomplishment is concerned. To find out what they've been through, because we've all followed them all season long. We know what their ups and downs are and what they have been dealing with. And if you get a chance to say, well done, it really kind of makes everybody feel good.
Jason,
and Enderley's
one real quick round. Go ahead, Larry.
I said Enderley's just a very special thing. I mean, it's like a Big Bud Shootout. It's a prestigious event that they work for all year, and it's not necessarily the point champion of the division usually, but it's somebody that was consistent and worked very hard to get there.
Exactly.
Hey, Jason, to round this out, let's go back to what you were doing where you were throwing out a name and these guys were giving you the first memory. Let's just do like one round.
Okay.
Do like 5 names.
So Brent, you go first.
Ooh, put me on the spot. Come up
Charles?
with a name first.
Tim Engler.
I'll go first. Ernie Ropp, Alan or Larry?
Larry probably would have a little better conversation about Ernie than I do because I didn't get a chance to meet that end of technical development.
Okay.
Ernie
Larry?
back in the pit area, Toma, and they come in with a ambulance and got him and took him out. And I think he survived that particular round, but he was a jewel. He was a good guy.
Yep, he was. John Klug.
You and I both have the same reaction, Larry. Huh.
Go for it, Alan.
No, I'm gonna let you.
All right, come on, one of you guys, spit it out.
Go. Anybody else?
Let's table that. Let's table that one.
Why have I become the old timer all of a sudden? Jesus Christ.
Look at Washburn.
Why? Because
that was
Washburn.
That was Alan's real laugh.
You knew there was a little bit of setup in this when you logged on.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan.
All right, we'll give you a different name. Don Masterson.
Excellent human being. Breaks my heart that Don's in the condition he's in. Last year at Louisville, after the tractor come back and he was in his wheelchair and everybody was kind of lining up to say hi to Don and like I indicated, I'm basically an old sentimental fart. And I walked up to Don and I said, "You know who I am?" He goes, "Yeah, hell yeah, I do, Larry." And we both shed a tear and shook hands and I gave him a hug and I said, "I'm going to get out of your way so that other people can talk to you, Don." But Don is a jewel. And Kevin's just as good a man as Don is and ever was. And I was actually fortunate to know people that now, as they pass, like the Ralph Banners and people like that, I was just a toe-headed kid. I mean, Art Arfons, when he passed, I was at the PRI show setting up in Orlando, and Dusty called me and she said, "Uncle Larry, last night, Daddy passed." And he used to call my son Robert that little red-headed kid. But no, I got to be good friends with Art Arfons, EJ Potter, a bunch of them in Florida. Before I got married in 78. I was just a teenager, but I had the dually and they had bigger trucks and I hauled them all over Florida. I've been to every aircraft junkyard in Florida with EJ Potter and Art Arfons. And here's a good quiz. Here's a good brain teaser. Does anybody know EJ's middle name or his real name? Not just EJ Potter.
Charles?
I know that I did, but it's not coming to me right off the top of my head.
Well, he decided he was going to share my camper in Florida in 1977. And so he's sound asleep and his wallet's laying on the kitchen table. And I didn't go through his wallet, but his driver's license fell out. And his name is Alan Jack Potter. And so the next morning, he said something, and I said, "Well, good morning, Elon." He goes, "You son of a bitch! You son of a bitch! You son of a bitch!"
I should have known the middle name because I've met his son Jack.
Well, and he called his son Jack Spot. And the story behind that is when he was born, EJ and his wife argued over what his name would be. And so EJ said, "By God, I'll call him Spot." And it was in the late 80s. The last time Dean Isley had a show in Pontiac, Michigan, in the Silverdome or whatever dome that was. What was it?
Silverdome.
Silverdome.
Anyway, we pulled in there, and I had 2 Rodaks at the time, and I pulled in there, and unless you looked up, you had no idea you were indoors. Anyway, EJ was there, and this boy was with him, and he was hollering, "Spot, get this, Spot." I mean, he was still calling him Spot, and he was an adult. But that's a fun story about EJ's kid. But no, I'm very fortunate. Somebody mentioned Tim Engler a while ago. Tim Engler and I back to when we was both teenagers pulling, and Tim didn't even have his own tractor yet. He was driving for Mr. Strawn out of Fort Branch, Indiana, 2392 Hemis, and him got in trouble, or didn't get in trouble. They got in an argument, and Tim didn't have a tractor for 1 year. And he was getting ready to build his own, just opened his machine shop. And he's walking around Evansville. And I said, "How you doing, Timmy?" And to this day, I'll call him Timmy. And he said, "All I got to tell you, Larry, is don't do without your tractor. You think you're done, or you think you can get it out of your system, but I'm lost." And the next thing he shows up with, all kinds of ungodly configurations. But no, Tim Engler and I go just way back to when we both started. I mean, very fortunate, very fortunate.
Cody, give him a name.
Mark Ulmer.
I knew that was where you were going.
Yep.
Mark Ulmer's, well, what can you say? He's a little bit like me, a little bit of a rebel.
That's where I was going to go with that. I would think, not someone to follow the crowd. Let me put it that way.
Not at all.
Anybody ever accused Richwine of following the crowd?
Hell no.
Yep.
Nope.
Yeah, I had a jet-powered two-wheel drive truck. Why? Because when they had divisional committees, I was going from a tractor going to build a two-wheeler, and I went up and asked them if I could build a jet-powered two-wheel drive truck, and they said no. So I came home and built it, and ran an exhibition, and it was called the Jet Beat of America, and it was an 89 fiberglass tilt body, and it's still around here somewhere today. Not my house, but somebody come along, thought they needed it, and it's parked in their shed. But yeah, I had a jet-powered two-wheel drive truck for a couple of years, just running an exhibition. My rule of thumb was whatever first place paid is what it's going to cost them for an exhibition pass.
Nice.
Yeah.
Larry, give Alan a name, or actually give him a track, give him an event.
Oh God. I don't
Pick
know.
one at random.
This first Indy Supercool he worked, it would have been what, 93?
Yes. Walked through the draft horse barn. Doc Riley hollered at me. He said, "Hey, kid, come here." I walked over. He said, "I understand you're working with me." And I said, "Okay. What do you want me to do?" And he said, "You listen to what I say and we'll get along fine." Well, Doc and I have had the opportunity more times than not to have that conversation again. And he always goes, "I didn't say it that way, did I?"
I bet he did.
Super Bowl was interesting. I was there when Art Arfons melted the nylon flags out of the ceiling in the Coliseum with the turbines. There was hot nylon dropping all over that track.
It looked safe.
Yeah, looked good to me.
Ish.
And we're not talking the streamers that went across the track.
No. We're talking the flags
at the top of the Coliseum that hadn't been blown away for years and years.
That's right. All right, let me throw one at you, Larry. Russell Mount.
Russell Mount, God love him. If you say Russell Mount, you got to say his wife's name, Betty. And
yes.
She goes, "Oh, Father, we got to do something about this. I don't know what we're going to do, Father," because she did it. And then later in life, they sold T-shirts and stuff. But Russell, Russell didn't quite know what to do with a turbine, and
he didn't know what to do with a radio either. He did not like radio communications.
Well, he couldn't hear.
No, he did everything by hand signals. Yeah. And once you understood his sign language, he was really a pretty good official. But you had to understand. You'd have to go get a primer before you started the pull, going, "Okay, Russell, run through, give me about 4 hand signals and see if I can follow what you're saying." But no, he was an interesting one.
Well, he was like a lot of the officials. They're frustrated pullers, or people that couldn't afford to continue doing it, or people that a lot of the flagmen are either frustrated pullers from the past, or pullers or fans that want to be more involved. Today's officials, there's very few of them that haven't been involved in some capacity, either promoting an event or working with a facility promotes an event or something. But I've had a lot of people say, "What's it take to be an official?" Well, it takes more than just asking what it takes.
That's exactly right. I carried an official license for several years. Never had the opportunity to wave a flag on a track, but I knew when Larry waved that flag what he was talking about. And that, I think, made it better for the crowd because I could explain what was going on the track.
Yeah, when they go to tech school, they get a better understanding of what and why we do it.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
I want you two to keep tossing names at each other for just a bit. This is fun.
Yeah.
Let me think here. Wild Bill
No,
Darrington.
I think it's Larry's turn here.
Oh, okay.
Isn't
Okay.
it?
Wild Bill Darrington?
Yeah.
Jesus, what a worthless. I mean, but no, Bill was okay. But Bill announced
He was out of his league, I thought.
over his head's a better description.
Okay. All right. I'll go with that.
I don't know. Like I say, Alan entered this sport, got his feet wet on one of the largest events at the time, the Indy Super Bowl, and excelled with it. I don't know any names I could throw at him. I definitely wouldn't be able to throw anything at him he hadn't talked about or whatever.
Yeah, or seen.
Or
You brought up a minute ago, you talked about popping the top on a single beer. Your first experience at Toma, was it as eye-opening an experience for you as it was for me? I've never seen so much beer consumed by a crowd in my life.
oh, you need to go to Gordyville.
Oh,
Yes.
I don't have to drive it far.
No, the beer flowed good, but hey, they got a good beer distributor sponsor and
Right.
got a beer gardens, and it works well. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's I could talk forever about different people and stuff. I'll throw one at you, Alan. Dave Archer.
Dave Archer, an interesting man, an interesting family, that whole pulling family. A smart boy. I mean, let's face it, he was head and shoulders above the rest of us. Knew how to get the horsepower, and then he'd let Arlene drive it. And Arlene was not afraid of that horsepower. And neither was Kathy, to be honest with you, either one of them. But Dave could take a lot of shiny pieces of metal and stack them on a vehicle and get a lot of power out of it. He really was very smart, very smart. I always enjoyed visiting with Dave.
Yeah. Bill Voorhees is another just classic gentleman of the sport. Bill and I became good friends, 45 years ago. When I met Bill, he was running the pro stock, and he was taking parts that Hypermax was basically grinding the nuts off from Case IH and selling as performance parts of just, something that could put more air, more fuel in it.
Right.
Bill was building his own stuff, and to this day, Bill's quite the competitor. The best story about Bill is come back in the pull-off at Toma. I don't know. He had the 5 motor. I don't know if it was a black one or the red one, but anyway, came back and couldn't get all 5 of them started at the line. The clutches were so hot that it would jump and he couldn't hold it. So he shut 2 of them off and he said, "Can I start these later?" And I said, "You can start them whenever you want." And so he went to the track with 3 of them running, backed up to the sled, hooked the chain on, and got the chain tight. And at about 25 feet, he reached up with his left foot and pushed the pedal and lit the other 2, the last 2 out of the 5. And that son of a gun hooked to the ground and went blast right out the gate. And later I said, "Bill, I don't know how you had the wherewithal to think about it, but that was friggin' awesome." But yeah, he
Exactly.
started of them at about 25 or 30 feet when the other 3 were wide open already. And he started the last 2. And I mean, it just like a rocket. But no, there's so many people. And you say Travis texted a while ago. I mean, the whole new generation of pullers, it's Travis is part of it. They're just as awesome as the old timers I talk about. It's just a different day and age, but it's a tremendous sport, and it's one of the few sports, if not the only, where the guy driving it may be the guy that built it and engineered it and thought of it all together.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
In race cars, you got a race team that puts things together, whether it's the head guy or the clutch guy or the block guy. But I live 4 miles from John Force's shop, where he moved in there, and we took a tour of that. Me and Bill Voorhees and Jason Brammer took a tour of that place. They build everything right there in Brownsburg. I mean, they build their own blocks, their own head, and everything. But there's 20 guys on each car.
Yeah.
I mean, but as far as the guy that behind the wheel might be the guy that just put his fire gloves on because they're greasy from changing the turbo, that don't happen in any other kind of racing.
That's right. That's exactly right.
That's to commend them for their engineering.
I'll throw you a name, Larry, one more time. One more name for you. Greer
What?
Hamilton.
Greer Hamilton. Think the cheapest beer you can buy. Think Keystone or Schlitz or whatever.
Yep.
My first memory of Greer Hamilton was he pulled in a Toma and he had an old cab over. I don't know whether it was a Pete or what it was. Anyway, it was made in the camper and a hauler, and he opened the door, and I bet 20 beer cans fell out before he did. And, oh my God, yeah. And so Doc felt sorry for him, and it's after the pull, and I'm parked there where I always park, and he was parked close, Greer was, and at that time he had a little Oriental wife. Her name was Miko. And so I seen Doc. I said, "What are you doing?" And I was closing everything up. And he goes, "I'm going to get Greer back to his hauler." So I physically seen Doc help Greer into the camper. And Doc hadn't gone 20 feet, and I heard thud. And Miko had kicked Greer out of the camper. And she goes, "You drunk son of a bitch. You're not come home now. You lay there." I mean, that was Greer Hamilton. And Greer Hamilton is one of the first group I ever breathalyzed at the event. I've breathalyzed the two-wheel drive class twice in 29 years. And that was in the second year in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. And Greer was just blitzed. And I went over and asked a deputy. I said, "You got your breathalyzer kit in your trunk?" "Yes, sir." And I told him that I had a competitor that I knew was drunk. And that rather than just walk over and say, "You can't pull," and have an argument, I asked if he would have everybody in the class blow in the tube. That way we weren't picking one out.
Yeah.
But I knew who I was gunning for. And of course he failed. And his buddy at the time that was his helper named Ed, I can't think of his last name, he drove and didn't do very well. But no, Greer was so upset that he couldn't pull. He wasn't that goddamn drunk, he said. But yeah. And then the second time I breathalyzed was in Pine Tops one time. And the troopers, two of them breathalyzed them. And I had a quick meeting at the scale. And two of them failed. I was only gunning for one, but I didn't know the second one would fail. And anyway, yeah. But yeah, it's like I say, I should have written the book.
You still can, Larry. You still can. So.
Yeah.
I mean,
Alan, remember we were talking every name or every rule has a name.
Exactly right, Ryan. Exactly right. Now I'll have Larry tell the story because I've heard it and I've tried to tell it and I don't do it justice.
which one?
Larry is, as he has made very clear tonight, he is not a drinker. However,
Never.
there was one pull that they threw him out of for being drunk, and he hadn't had anything to drink. You want to? Yeah,
Sure.
Look at it. I got him now.
Inwood, Ontario, up there at I can't think of the guy's name. And we pulled down in a valley, and the hillside, natural hillside, was the grandstand, and 2-day show. And their beer garden had a snow fence around it at the top of the hill. So if they did get drunk and fall down, they wouldn't roll all the way down the hill onto the track. But
How
they
practical.
they had what they called the zoo. And the zoo was a campgrounds in a wooded area at the back of the property. And make a long story short, everybody go back there, and they had music and they had, drinking and everything, had fun. And Linda was with me, my wife, and a bunch of us, and we drove back there in somebody's Jeep, I don't know, and drove back to the zoo because Larry likes to have fun. Well, we're singing and dancing and doing whatever, and acting up. And one of the guys, actually the people that were the security for the event was some Canadian biker gang. And so anyway, they figured out that Linda was with me, and me and Tom Hartzell both were cutting up, the announcer out of Michigan. We're cutting up and having fun, and they come over to Linda and said, is he driving? And she goes, yeah, he's driving the Jeep, and they go, we need the keys, and he's drunk. And Linda looked at him and laughed and said, him? He's not drunk, anyway, but I was acting up enough. They thought I was drunk. And long story short, Linda told me, and I said, oh, hell, let's go back up to the pit area. And the promoter was roasting corn and hog and stuff up there. So anyway, I got the keys and we got in the Jeep and went up, and you had to go down this big long lane, I don't know, a quarter mile back to the track area. And you had to open a farm gate to get back into the area, the pit area. And so we get to the gate, And I stopped. I was driving, and Linda says, "I'll get the gate." And over my shoulder, didn't even know he was there, on a four-wheeler, one of these biker guys. "I'll get the gate, sir." And, okay. And so I went back and told the promoter, I said, Did you hear I got thrown out of the zoo for being drunk? He goes, "Yeah." He said, "They don't know you very well, do they?" I said, "No, they don't." But I was actually removed because I was drunk. Well, I was disorderly. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Just disorderly.
We were just
Mark
having
Ulmer.
fun. They were just
Mark
having
Ulmer. Mark Ulmer says Warren Powers.
Warren Powers, yes.
Okay.
Warren Powers, yep. Inwood, Ontario. Yep. Good event.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Alan, Larry, thank you. Alan, we kept John for an hour longer than I said we would, but I think you've enjoyed yourself. So
No, thank you guys.
Hey.
You've been very gracious, all of you, and getting Larry in there to mix things up and remember some old times that he and I have had over the course of the years. And he's right. You both had a good run with this. There's no question about that. But thank you guys. You've all been very gracious to us. We appreciate it.
thank you, Alan.
Hey, fellas.
Thank you.
I know you've got one more story in you. Tell us a Bob Jostock story. Lisa put me up to this, so go ahead and throw him right under the bus.
Lisa put you up to this? Oh, my
Lisa
gosh.
put me up to this. I can send you a screenshot, buddy.
I don't care. Lisa, God love you. You don't need to know everything, honey.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I
It
never
was
had
good
any Bob, but his crew, no matter who it was, liked to party. Between like a Bowling Green, each night or whatever,
Yep.
they enjoyed themselves. Bob always stayed back, him and his mom and a bunch of them. They behaved very well, still do.
Yep.
But his crew, and I used to enjoy it. I'm saying 15 years ago when he had a couple of those crew were pretty strange looking and looked like somebody would hang out with me. And he would come to the track, and Alan can probably testify. I'd say, "Well, Joe Stock's up," and I would sing into the microphone on the headset, dun 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 dun, because it was like a circus. They'd be running around and throwing wrenches and clutch rods, and oh my God, it was like wow. But Bob,
at that point, if Butch Krieger was on the other end of a microphone, he would be flat on the floor because Larry had just taken him out.
I can
And
see
he
that
didn't take
happening.
much. But
and all it
no,
took was circus music. But,
that's
yeah.
right. Bob and Lisa Jostock, it's interesting to watch them. I always got a big kick out of Ma Jostock. Yeah, she was the one that said, "Yes, we'll go now." And all of a sudden, Lisa showed up and she says, "Bob, now we'll go now."
Now we'll go now.
That's right.
Real last quick story about Joe Stock's crew. We were in St. Hyacinthe, Quebec. And of course, Terry likes to frequent taverns that have music. Taverns that have
That's a nice
taverns.
way to word it.
I think it was the Pink Flamingo. Anyway, Terry would like to, does still, I'm sure, frequent taverns with music and kind of a pay-as-you-go music. Anyway, in Canada, I call it. That's why I tell Tom LaRue it's Canadian. You have toonies and loonies, $1 coin, $2 coins. And so they had a kid that worked for them. Bob and Terry had this kid that was a crew member. And they got him on the stage. This is what I heard. I didn't witness it. Swear to God, I didn't. Anyway.
You were so full of lies.
No, I honestly did not witness this. Terry told me this, and I believed it. And I'll tell you why in a minute. Anyway, they had this kid lay down on the stage on his back and put a toonie on his nose and lip. And he's laying there. And this young lady retrieved the coin. God, I'm having to work at this. Retrieved the coin without using her feet, fingers, toes, or anything else. Lisa, Bob wasn't there. It was Terry. I don't know that Bob's ever gone to those places. If he had, nobody knows it. I can't testify. Anyway, but Terry does. Or God, Terry does. Anyway, So she reached down, and I'm going to say this affectionately, snatched the coin.
Does anybody else get the feeling that he might have rehearsed this?
No,
I think this is
I don't
not the
need
first time
rehearsal.
he's told this story.
Anyway, he thought she had it. Well, she lost her grasp, and he's, and he's probably some young man that never seen that part of a heifer. Anyway, she dropped the coin. True story. You can ask Terry Jostock, and he swallowed it. He swallowed the coin. So Terry's telling me this the next morning, and I see the kid walking around, and I go, "Hey, what are you doing?" He goes, "Oh man, I don't know, man." He says, I followed a coin. I said, "Yeah, I heard about that. How would that go?" "Oh man," it was good and it was bad both. And I said, "Well," "what are you going to do when you spit it?" And Maud, she said, "Oh, you boys, you shouldn't have done that to him. He's going to get sick." Anyway, they went to a French-speaking drugstore in St. Hyacinthe, Quebec, and bought a bunch of X-Lax.
Oh God!
Wearing a stack of Bibles with a gun to my head is the truth. And he ate the whole box of X-Lax, and he's walking around the pit area all the next day. We're going to pull that night, and of course the X-Lax kicks in, and he's running back and forth the portalet close to the holler, and I seen it. And so later I said, "Did you get rid of the coin?" He goes, "Man, I don't know, man." He says, "I'm not going to fish around in the portalet and try to find it. I don't know if I'm sick or, well, I don't know." But he said, "Now I can't quit going to the bathroom." So at come time, after we were done that night, Bob and Terry were driving back across the 401 to get back into Michigan because they had a pull that night somewhere. Emily City or somewhere. Long story short, too late. He's still going like a goose. It's time to leave. They swear to God this is true. Bob, if you're listening, you can testify. But they put him in the trailer with a 5-gallon bucket, no ventilation, no air conditioning, in a box trailer, riding across the 401 at probably 80 or 100 mile an hour, in the dark, no lights, with a 5-gallon bucket. Supposedly, when they got back into the U.S., they opened the gate, they opened the door on the trailer, and there's this poor, haggard-looking kid. I mean, he couldn't have been, 18, 20 years old. And supposedly, according to Terry, he was covered in goose droppings, and so was the trailer. And he goes, and all Maud said was, "Well, at least he didn't die." But yeah.
I thought you were going to tell me he held up the coin and said, "Hey, I found it."
I'm pretty sure the way he was going to the portalet, it's somewhere in St. Hyacinth and landfill.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's back in the local economy.
Now, Lisa says she's heard the story from Bob, but not quite the way you told it.
Probably not as graphic.
That's true. That's true.
No.
The best part of that story was watching Washburn's face because he was trying to behave.
This is what happens on Beer Money
Larry
After
before.
11.
I've been around Larry before. Again, guys, thank you. This has been fun.
Alan, thank you
very much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Alan.
very much, Alan.
Thank you, Larry.
Larry, thank you for jumping in there and
My
helping
pleasure.
out.
Larry, are you in Indiana right now? Are you going to come to Ship? Hang
No.
out?
I won't be at Ship. I'm not planning on it. No.
Well,
I'm home right now.
Change your plans.
Huh?
Change your plans.
I'll probably be home. I probably won't come to Ship this next week, whenever it is. But I leave on the 18th, going south and doing that Ocala event, and may hang around and go harass the guy that's a big deal on the 4th and 5th or whatever. I did so.
Please do.
For the event, he come up and harassed me, so I may come over and harass him.
I would like that. I'd be honored.
I actually
Turnabout is fair play.
Down there for about 6 weeks, and got a little gig might get to do, but I don't know. They talked to me about Louisville being the fuel cop again, and Marvin's got all that equipment now, and so I don't know. I probably will stay in Florida for the month of February, but my wife said, "What's the difference between being gone 2 or 3 months in the summertime or being gone a couple months in wintertime?" I said, "Weather." So
Yeah, exactly right.
hate cold weather. Also hate to leave her here, even though I have several people that help us when we need help. But
Well, it's getting cooler down here now, Larry. It's now 63 down here.
that's rough duty.
Cry us a river.
Larry, Klint Tucker says you can come test fuel. He'll pay you. And ship us.
Woo! What? You just want me to get in trouble from all entities?
Well, come on. Why not make it happen?
No.
Go, put your hat back on backwards again, Larry. We got you. We both made you bigger. There you go. There you go.
Someone grab a screenshot of that.
I'm all
That'll
forehead.
be our next T-shirt.
There you go. There you
I'm
go.
all foreheads. Well, did you see my hat? What it said? I'm not politically correct at all.
That's true. We know that.
But anyway, yeah, it's. I've had a heck of a good time. There's the T-shirt that he made last time.
Yep.
Yeah. Larry says Funk Machine.
Richwine, I spent like $800 to $1,000 on all those T-shirts. That's how much I love you, buddy. So.
Yeah. Yeah, but I didn't get any
dear.
free until I said, "Wow, that's an unauthorized photo," and then he gave me a bunch of them free. And a bunch of the guys that are watching, have already texted me and said, "Well, I seen your T-shirt come up on the screen." So,
Yep.
we all have fans. Some of them, well, they're all important. Put it that way.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Got a text that somebody said we were talking about generations. We also have generations of officials too that we've seen second and third generations coming up. So yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's a sport like no other, and I'm proud to be associated with it.
Me too. Me too.
What a perfect summation of it.
Ulmer just says, "I think I just saw half a dolly." when Richwine
I'm probably the left
Well
one. It
played,
hangs a little
Mark.
lower. Waka, waka, waka. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Dolly Parton. Oh, it's just two ball-headed men sitting very close together.
Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Have a good night, Alan.
All right.
Thanks, Alan.
a lot.
See you guys.
See you, Alan.
All right, Richwine. It's time for you to do the pick'em contest for Shipshewana.
The what?
You're going to do the pick'em contest.
I'm picking winners or what?
Yeah, just sit tight. Give me a second. Thanks for jumping on tonight, Larry. That was Alan.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Alan is such a good dude, and to have you come on, I didn't realize the history of you two like that. That's neat. So
Yeah, if it hadn't been for my father passing, seriously, I'd have never met him. But I did walk around for at least 2 or 3 years before I met him, but he was always the voice. In fact, last year was the first time in like 30 years he didn't work the Indiana State Fair. It's almost all automated now, but he'd be the guy that'd say, Mr. Ledbetter, meet your family at the State Police Information Booth. I mean, but every day, every hour, he'd say, "Welcome to the Indiana State Fair. State Fair time, 11 o'clock. But he did that for like 8 or 9 hours a day.
what's your email, Larry?
Do what?
What's your email address?
ntpaw@yahoo.com. What are you sending me?
No, just this for your prizes. So, can you see the screen, or do you want me to read them to you?
Honestly, I'm on my phone and I can't see it very well, even with the glasses. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Do you know much about the 1950 Econo mini rods at all, Larry?
Only time I see Econo mini rods are the ones that come to Brown County Fair in Georgetown, Ohio.
Okay. Charles, which one should I pick for Larry then?
Give him Greg Vandervoort.
Yeah, he's gonna be the fan
Yeah,
favorite.
that's a good call.
Okay.
9,000 Pro Farm tractors. Donnie Kurtzer, Mike Frazier, Paul Graff, Kyle Cook, Kent Dusterhouse, Connor Ruff, Ryan Litherland, Alan Graff, Charlie Henson, or Rick Burke.
Well, I don't know any of them well enough either. What was the second one? Your second name?
Here, I'll just do names. We got a Case 970, Hurricane Sandy, Leftovers, Never Satisfied, Voodoo Curse, Getting It Deer, John Deere 4010, Moose on the Loose, State Line Hooker, or Why Not?
Let's go with Why Not, just because I like the name.
Yeah, we're going to go. This will be fun this way. Okay. I'm not
There
even
we
tying
go.
the classes anymore. I'm just going to read off the names.
There we go. That works.
Addiction, Buck Robber, Dozin' Through, Horseplay, Mayhem, Motorin, Red Power Reloaded, Showstopper, Blown Budget, Double Trouble, Harrison Hooker, IH 1466, Milk Money, Raging Red, Road Gear Deer, or the Teacher's Pet.
Road Gear Deer or Teacher's Pet, either one, I'd say.
Okay. Next class, Budweiser King, Gypsy Road, IH 1066, Jenny's Worst Nightmare, John Deere 4440, Pop's Binder, Sexy 66, Taking Chances, Constant Aggravation, Heart Therapy, Jenny's Nightmare, John Deere 4010, Patience, Ruthless, Shiny, or Whiskey Bent.
Constant Aggravation.
Okay. If they don't have a name, I'm not going to read them. Chop Top 40, Dad's Favorite, Mom's Nightmare, Green Extreme 2, Mongo, Old Smoky, Sexy 66, Called Remjet, Chop Top 40's on there twice. What the heck? Okay, Cost of Looking Cool, Frank, Never Enough, Red Donkey, or Wild Goose Chase.
Never Enough.
Billet Blue, Cadillac Red, Firestorm, Gold Rush, Homegrown, Just for Fun, Raging Red, Blue Reaper, Cruel Intentions, Floor Sweepings, Green Energy, No Expectations, Press On, or Thumpkin Pumpkin.
Press On. And make sure that you tell him. You make sure you tell him I said that because he's an ornery little shit.
8-second Ride, Good Time Binder, Johnny Be Good, Perfect Storm, Riding Dirty, Shop Dog, Smokin' Red, The Possum, The Unknown, Against the Grain, Fast Forward, Full Throttle Wide Open, Hellraiser 2, Mule Train, Old Red, Red Rattler, Rocky Top Reloaded, Silent Partner Unknown, The High Price Hooker, The Replacement Deer 2, or Wife's Nightmare.
Replacement Deer 2.
Burning Cash, Code Red, Never Satisfied, Old Granddad, Running Late, State Line Hooker, Wheelin' and Dealin' 2, Cluckin' Broke, Getting It Deer, Obnoxious, Outlaw Binder, Spare Parts, War Machine, or Why Not?
Why not?
Ageless, Bucking Deer, Daddy's Money.
What kind
That's
of deer?
Plumbers.
Bucking deer?
Yeah,
that what you
Bucking
said?
Deer.
Okay.
Bucking Deer.
Bucking with a B.
Yeah.
Daddy's Money, Endless, Who's Your Hooker, One Bad Buck, Still
Endless.
Fueling Around.
Endless Binder.
Okay.
That's Mr. Carrington.
Yes, sir.
He's probably watching, and he owes me one for that vote.
Another Bad Habit, Case of Alcoholism, Hard Target, Johnny's Deer, Julie's Nightmare, Light 'em Up, Old Rags, Semper Fi, Sharon's Nightmare, War Horse, Z-Ride, Blue Power Express, Dirty Business, Kentucky Gambler, Shanita, Total Recall, and Wasting Bucks.
Holy crap. I never realized how hard that one's going to be to call.
Semper Fi.
Okay. After Hour Binder, Black Tornado, Blue Unit, Canadian Mist, Defiant, International Pure Attitude, All Beef, Black and Blue, Bushwhacker, Cadillac Red, Demented, High Gear Harvester, Midnight Farmer, and Smoking Up a Storm.
Was one of them the Tornado?
Yes.
Black Tornado, yeah.
Okay. 8-second Ride, Ageless, Double Trouble, Harrison Hooker, Hellraiser 2, Johnny Be Good, Mayhem, Riding Dirty, Silent Partner Unknown, Teacher's Pet, The Possum, Wife's Nightmare, Against the Grain, Christine, Dozing Through, Good Time Binder, Hellraiser, High on Red, I'm Hooked, Legal Addiction, Mule Train, Road Gear Deer, Still Fueling Around, The High Price Hooker, and The Unknown.
Teacher's Pet.
All Beef, Burning Benjamins, Demonstrator, I Got This, More Milk Money, Playing with Fire, Smoking Hot Hooker, Toxic, White Lie, Black Stripe Addiction, Concrete Express, Fire in the Hole, Just One More, Packin' Heat, Ragin' Buck, The Holy Terror, and Undertaker.
Concrete Express.
American Ethanol, Chicken on a Chain, Constant Chaos, Ethanol Express, It's No Joke, Just Spooling Around, Playing for Keeps, Super Beast, Thunderstruck 2.0, Chain Reaction, Seeing Red, E15, Go for Broke, Just for Fun, One More Bad Habit, Shuckin' Crazy, Thunderstruck, and Wired Hot.
One More Bad Habit.
Iron Patriot, Struck by Lightning, Not a Clue, or The Centerfold.
I have no idea. We'll say Not a Clue because I don't have one.
About Time, Fast Forward, Hoss, Just Getting Started, One Bad Binder, Sneaky Snake, The Bandit, Busted Budget, Farmall Fever, Firestorm, Hostile Environment, Red Avenger Classic, or the Steel City Smoker.
Red Avenger Classic.
That's a tough flight to get through. Wow.
Yeah.
American Chaos, Checking Out, Fear the Deer, Green Energy, High Maintenance.
Checking Out. One of the few more
Don't
tests.
even need to go any further.
Yep.
Bombardier Reloaded, Diggin' Deer, Dr. Deer, Just Add Dirt, Limited Edition, Runnin' Red Hot, Slow Ride, Thunder Clutch, Dark Horse, Dirt Digger, Faster Horses, Killin' Time, Runnin' in the Red, Rush Hour, Special Edition, Time for One More.
Dirt Digger.
Backdraft, Bleeding Green, Bow Tie Binder, Dirty, Sexy Money, Leaded, Old Yeller, Slow Burn Relit, Bandits, Blue Binder, Dark Side Deer, Freaky Farmall, Life Changer, Old Sparky, or the M.
Old Sparky's there? Is that the same Old Sparky that I owned for 3 years?
Jeffrey Neisel.
Out of Alabama or Arkansas or whatever?
It's a 6,000 pound classic modified.
No, it's not him.
Okay.
The Wamba.
I honestly don't know, guys.
Okay, you're taking Old Sparky then. Another bad habit, Cockshot 40, Dirty Business, Haywire, Johnny's Deer, Julie's Nightmare, Light 'em Up, Mean Green, Oliver 1855, Total Recall, Z-Ride, Case of Alcoholism, Cockshot 570, Hard Target, Kentucky Gambler, Massey, Old Rags, Semper Fi, or the Warhorse.
The Cockshot 40 that's in there, that's Chicken Coop's special rehatched.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is Light Limited Super, is that what you're talking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The Cockshot 570, whatever it is.
Chris,
Good
Charles?
call, buddy.
is
Well,
that the Enderley winner? Is that the Enderley winner, Charles?
No, the 40 was the Anderley winner.
So which one? What? Give Tim or give Larry the Enderley winner, right?
what?
Sure.
Well, it's his
Okay.
pick. I mean, he do what he wants.
Backwoods Evolution, Boosted, High on Diesel, Iron Maiden, Ram Tough, The Common Hooker, Big Red, Causing Trouble, Hill Brothers, Most Hated, Running Out of Room, or Under Pressure.
Under Pressure.
Okay. Blue Unit, Busted Budget, Farmall Fever, Hoss, Limited Edition, Pure Attitude, Sneaky Snake, Bushwhacker, Canadian Mist, Dirty Deeds, Fast Forward, Just Getting Started, Midnight Farmer, or the Sandhill Binder.
Bushwhacker.
About Time, Black Tornado, Defiant, Hostile Environment, Woodband Binder, Rush Hour, Special Edition, After Hour Binder, Black and Blue, Demented, High Gear Harvester, Red Avenger Classic, Smoking Up a Storm, and the Steel City Smoker.
Red Avenger Classic again. If he don't blow it up, he's hard to beat.
Barnyard Buick, Spare Parts, Wild Child, Cluckin' Broke, Runnin' Late, Wheelin' and Dealin'.
I don't know. What was the second one you read on that list?
Spare Parts.
Oh, let's let him have Larry's vote.
Okay. Coming at ya, Jumpin' Jack Flash, Relentless, Funkin' Groovin', Past Due, or Thicker Than Blood. Thicker Than Blood.
Well, if we're going on ego, it'd be definitely Jumpin' Jack Flash, but we're not doing that. Oh, did I say that?
Damn. Yeah, that was out loud, man.
Was it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's time to replace the filter.
Yeah, Jumpin' Jack Flash, of course.
Just Plan, Wildcat, or the Mule Deer.
Mule Deer.
Okay. And What will be the winning distance in the 6,000-pound light limited superstock tractors on Saturday night? Track distance is roughly 310.
312 and 8.
Larry Richwine, you have submitted your entries for a chance to win excellent passes to the Pullers Championship and free T-shirts. Congratulations.
Wow. Do you carry T-shirts in a 3X?
Oh, we do. We go up to 5X.
Oh, yes, we do.
Oh, really? Well, then I need a 4 so it don't shrink too much.
Okay, fair enough. I'll make that happen.
The only
I
way
might know that.
the only way Jason's going to make it happen, though, is if you come to the Pullers Championship.
May 19th and 20th.
Shut up, Larry. Put it on your
hang out with
calendar.
Johnny Christie.
Come out and hang with us. We won't even make you test fuel.
Yeah. I've tested enough fuel. I can about look at it and smell it and tell you whether it's legal or not. Let's put it this way. In my contract to be the tech consultant, one of the things I'm not allowed to do is become a crew chief for anybody.
Understood.
But if I ever do come back as a competitor, and I don't care for diesel fuel, I never enjoyed it as a farmer spilling it on me when I ran the tank over, and I never enjoyed messing with it, but you don't want me to mix your fuel because it'll pass.
It'll pass.
It'll pass the tests that are currently involved. Let's put it that way.
Fair enough.
Without a mass spectrometer, you'll never find it. So
Thus the reason that's in his contract, guys.
my contract actually says more of what I can't do than what I can.
That's because they know you, Larry. They know you.
Oh, yeah.
You apparently have hired a pretty good lawyer.
Well, what it was, and this is the great place to actually just explain. Everybody was surprised that Larry retired. Larry was too. My contract was up September 30th, and Mr. Weissong said it's time for a change. And I said, all right. I said, I'm not done. I'd like to be involved. And the new tech director, Marvin Epperson, I have no problem with. Marvin and I have worked together for many, many, many years in Ohio. He's a good guy, and he'll do a good job. He's got quite a job ahead of him because after doing it 29 years, I may not have always done it right, but I always did it consistent and stuck to my guns. And you never had to wonder what I was thinking, but that's just me. But I'm still on. I still get a paycheck for a little bit less than I was, and that's fine. And I'm a technical services consultant, which means if you call me, I have to tell you to call Marvin. And then Marvin will either answer your question or Marvin will call me. I'll answer the question. He'll call you back. Anyway, but no, I've had an excellent run, and I'm not by any means done with this sport. I'm going to announce a few, and I'll be working the shows here in Indiana, hauling the trailer and doing stuff. I'll be around. But with all the happenings in the world of truck and tractor pulling right now, I told my wife I may not really wanted to retire yet, but maybe a good thing I did. So, but no, it's an adjustment. But I get to do all the ones in Florida, the Mid-South and stuff, and like ones in South Carolina again. And I've been very blessed. Would never have met any of you guys, let alone all the countless people, pullers, and everybody across the country. And I don't care where you are, at a brush pull or whatever. You just say the word Richwine, and they either roll their eyes or say, "Oh, Jesus," or they grin. And that's my goal in life, is to make everybody laugh a little bit and try to appreciate and understand the sport that I know and love better than anything. So,
love it.
That's kind of why we just made the invite. You don't have to actually do anything.
well,
Just come hang with us.
you know, I
It'd be
really
fun to have you.
I don't make a good spectator, and I tell you why. After running as many as I've run in my lifetime and being all the places, and it's hard for me to watch. I don't sit in the bleachers well at all, but even trackside, just hanging out on a golf cart, I don't watch well because I think, wow, who hung those banners there? And that one's crooked, and oh my God, that guy needs to get out of the way. They're going to die. And if they have a fire, they don't even have an extinguisher down there. I mean, too many things that we might think of, but the general public don't. And I don't know. Let's put it this way. I observe better than I do a lot of things, but it's really honestly hard for me to watch. But if I'm not, I think I'm announcing a horse show for Linda that week. What is it, May what?
19th and 20th.
19th and 20th. All right. Well, if I'm available, you heard it here first, folks. I'll try to attend. And
Charles, we could have him stand next to you for a little bit.
do
Yeah.
what?
You can come up. We'll bring you up in the booth and put you on, hand you a microphone.
I think
I'll bring you some Crown.
If you're that,
Maybe I'll bring you some Diet.
if you're that opposed to like just stand there, we'll put you to work. I mean, if that's the problem, just stand there. We'll make sure you got something to do.
It also says
Don't eat brains.
it also says I'm not to work for any other tractor pulling sanctioning body or entity.
We don't have to pay you.
Hey. We're on sanction. We're on
It doesn't
sanction.
say
You're
I can't
okay here,
announce
buddy.
for 'em. Do what?
This is
I
true.
said, we're unsanctioned. You're okay, buddy.
He said it doesn't. He said he can't announce for somebody. But let's start to wrap. Larry, you stick on with us, but let's start to wrap this up. Brent, give us a overview on the Pullers Championship voting, how we're doing, stuff like that.
We're just about past last year's first round's vote totals already, and we still have another roughly 6 days to vote. So keep doing
We've had
that.
more votes this year than we did last year for year two.
So it's still out there. Just go to pullerschampionship.com, click on the fan vote tab. You can vote once a day. It'll tell you how many vehicles you can vote for in each class. So just pay attention to each class that you're voting for. Voting will close this Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Central Time. And then round 2 will start exactly a week from, or 2 weeks from today. So on the 23rd of January, round 2 will open up with the top 20 from round 1. So,
And this weekend, Brent's going to padlock his scissor lift and put in earplugs. So don't try to ask him where you are in the voting.
I've been reading all the comments. Why don't you post the names? No, that's why we're doing it. So we keep it as honest as we can.
yeah.
So, yeah, and we don't know. Only Yarn knows. So,
Yeah.
Jason, Pop Adams comment.
which one? Oh, can you operate a camera? Asking for a friend, Larry. It would be in selfie mode all the time, Adam.
That's probably true.
There's two answers.
But God, if he started commentating,
Yeah, I was just saying.
oh my God, that would be so perfect.
That would be money.
I'll set him up with a wireless mic. This would be great.
That would be money. That Larry's YouTube channel.
Oh, wow. Well, I do have a TikTok account, but everything I got on TikTok usually involves German Shepherds.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only thing the pandemic did was put another 30 like I needed it and get me addicted to TikTok.
What's your TikTok, Larry?
Richwine 2257. Anyway.
You have a new
Larry,
follow,
in case we
Larry.
haven't said it, thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
Do
Larry's
We
listening to
appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously the vote is up for the Midwest Winter Nationals, the fan pick'em contest. We put that out a couple hours ago. Thank you, Brent Yarn, for getting that up. And then Larry Richwine did his own. That was pretty fun as well. So people start voting on that?
That does close at 11 a.m. on Thursday, which is also the same Eastern time, which is also the same start time of session number 1 for the Midwest Winter Nationals. So that was announced, I think it was this morning, that all officially on their Facebook page that all sessions are starting an hour earlier than originally scheduled due to the amount of entries. So because they are in a curfew.
Are we getting some decent votes in for the pick'em contest? I know we put it up. How many entries we have so far?
Yeah, they're coming in. So normally we get around 400. And we are at about 130 right now. So
Okay, cool. We'll get there hopefully.
Yep.
Share that around.
I was hoping to have it out last week, just with the whole fan voting stuff. Didn't get time to do it, and then I went ice fishing this weekend instead of doing anything else. So
Yeah, I was going to say, don't lie. You went ice fishing.
Yep.
Okay, well, please head to Shipshewana, Indiana, January 12th through the 14th for 6 sessions, 3 days of fantastic truck and tractor pulling action indoor in a controlled environment. And it's a lot of fun. You'll get to hear the great Charles on the mic with Carl Downs. Leroy's rolling in this weekend, and see the rest of our ugly asses. Maybe Richwine might even show up. So on behalf of us, all of us here at Let's Grow Pulling, I'm going to hit the end broadcast button. You guys don't leave because I have something to say. So hang tight. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks.
See you guys.
See you guys.